And welcome into the Friday edition of Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ryan Porth here with you on this Friday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. Got a loaded show for you here today. The NCAA tournament now underway. We'll talk a lot about that in today's show. Taking your thoughts on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. At 7:30, we'll be joined by Rick Insell, MTSU women's basketball coach. A fascinating matchup in the women's tournament. MTSU taking on the Tennessee Volunteers in the first round. So looking forward to talking to Rick Insell at 7:30. Teron Davenport at 8 o'clock. Terry Crisp at 8:30. And then another edition of Weekend Winners taking place at 9:30. So with that being said, Joe Rexrode, how in the world are you?
Well, Weekend Winners. I'm not off to a good start. It's not part of it, but I apologize to anyone who hit that under hard on the Michigan State
Last
UCLA
time I listened
game.
to you.
Whew. I thought it was going to be 52-50. It was 86-80.
Thanks for the apology.
Hey, they did have overtime, though.
That's right. Yeah, see, yeah, exactly. It was overtime. So, I mean, you can't count that against me, right?
Sure.
But they're showing Tom Izzo and Gabe Brown's. I wonder how much conversation that'll get today. A little screaming back. See, it's the jersey, it's the arm and the jersey grab right there. People are they're gonna talk about that a lot today.
And then the turning around that Tom Izzo about got whooped in the tunnel there.
Yeah, maybe. He's much taller than Tom Izzo.
He is much taller.
Not everyone.
Maybe not as intense,
many people
though.
are. Yeah, Izzo. I mean, it's one of those things where, like, it's run-of-the-mill stuff, and all these, like, Draymond Green, all these players, like, yeah, this is, like, every day.
Yeah.
But still, I would say it's a little different now, right, than it was when we were young. Or, I'm sorry, when I was young.
It's different from when I was young, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I responded better to coaches who screamed and yelled, honestly. Like,
It never really bothered me.
Yeah, but it's just, like in football, you're going to get grabbed by your face mask
At all times.
a million times. Yeah. And now it's just, it's not done. So got to adjust a little bit, Izzo.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably better.
What did you think of, I guess, technically night one of the NCAA tournament? Some good games out there. Drake Wichita State was very
great.
good.
Yeah, that was great. And the UCLA Michigan State game was, it was good. I mean, it was fun. They made shots like I thought they wouldn't. It was a fluid game. It was great. And plus, those games were both in, one's in Indiana's Assembly Hall and one's in Purdue's Mackey Arena, two of the greatest buildings in existence. So, yeah, absolutely fantastic. But, I like also that the first four is done in one day. Yeah. I kind of like that.
Me too.
It's because when you have just two and then two and you're waiting, it's just one game you're watching at a time. If one of them's a stinker, it's not like this was more like the NCAA tournament was happening.
Right.
You had a little bit of overlap, and now we get into today. It's going to be wacky, though, to think of like Saturday as first round games, and then Monday we have the full slate of second round games.
My head's still not used to that.
Which I believe is just going to be just a this year thing, right? I believe so.
I would think so.
Yeah. Because of COVID.
Yeah. And a lot of firsts this year because of COVID. So the first full day of the NCAA tournament getting underway today, and Tennessee playing today as well. We'll talk a lot about that later on in the show and look ahead to the Midwest region as well, which Tennessee is a part of. We'll do that coming up at 7 o'clock. Another big win last night, Joe Rexrode, for the Nashville Predators. They get it done 2-1 on the road against the Florida Panthers. UC Saros comes back in and plays last night. He makes 40 saves, stops 40 out of 41 shots. And Callie Yarncroke is just on fire right now. 2 goals in the game last night for the Nashville Predators. Unselected yet again in Preds Pick to Click yesterday, brought to you by New Amsterdam Vodka, and he just continues to light it up. 7 points in his last 3 games.
I think he's angry at the Preds Pick to Click.
I think he's too.
That's my theory, that he's fed up with this stuff. It's pretty bad. I mean, it's kind of, Yarncroke scores 2 goals. We got to pick Yarncroke. At some point, it's like, no, really, you need to pick Yarncroke.
Well, what's going to happen now, right? I'm going to select Yarncroke.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Time that we're eligible to do it,
and then Arvidsson's
going to totally fade. By the way, Arvidsson, Wide open net
Oh,
last
my
night.
gosh.
I mean, could not be more wide open. And Bobrovsky makes a pad save. Just kicks his leg out. I didn't even think he saw him. Just kicks his leg out, makes a save. I threw my remote.
You are just destined to have a donut in the pick to click.
I was
column.
over at my parents' house hanging out with them, and my wife was over there, and I just threw the remote. My dad was like, "What are you doing? Why are you throwing my remote?" It's like, I'm never going to get anything right. Preds pick to click.
I still don't think you're going to pull it off.
Well, I'm not trying to pull it off.
I understand. At this point, though, it would be pretty amazing.
You're gonna luck into one at some point.
Thank you.
So we talked to Hal Gill yesterday, and I threw this on Twitter, and it's probably an overreaction. But, you look at Yarncroke, 16 goals, 15 goals, 16 goals. He has a 10, he has a 15. And the guy who's just the Swiss Army knife guy, just go wherever, be the fourth-line center, come up here and play the wing over here, et cetera, et cetera. I threw out there, like, if he was like Craig Smith, and I know they're different players, and that's why they were used differently, but if he was used the same way, would he have had multi-20-goal seasons, or am I just overthinking that because he happens to be hot this year?
I mean, my immediate answer would be no. I think he's hot right now. Look, I think he's a good player. Fourth, I remember when they traded for him and sent David Legwand to Detroit. Everybody thought he was going to be a top 6 guy coming back. Like, that was the thing.
Red Wings fans thought they were screwing this up.
Yeah, I mean, everybody thought he was coming in to be a top 6 guy, maybe the second-line center, because that's what the Predators have been looking for a long time. Second-line center.
Needing a second-line center.
Second-line center, baby, coming in there. And, look, I don't know. I mean, I think his versatility is what's made him really valuable for this team. My immediate answer to that would be no, that he would not have 20-goal seasons.
I mean, again,
however,
a 16, a 15, a 16, a 15.
I mean, what I will say, though, is that he'll score some goals where you're like, damn, where was that shot?
Yeah.
Where has that been? He has scored some beauties over the years just with a wicked wrister.
He has. Now, he's also had stretches where he just totally disappears offensively.
1,000%.
And not for a little bit.
And not
for like 25, 30
But
games.
that's my question.
Like 3 months.
And I agree, and that's why we've been kind of joking all year about it. But that's where I'm asking, though, how much of it is because he's used the way he is. He's like, Yarncroke, just go over here and there, and,
Well, Craig Smith disappeared for weeks at a time, too.
He did.
Sure.
I mean, it could be. Right now, I'd use him as much as possible because he's the best player on the team right now.
It's not sustainable to have a shot percentage of 23.7, which is what he is right now.
It's not.
But hey,
you'll take it right now.
Ride the wave, man. Ride the wave.
Padding those stats, Callie Yarncroke.
What I would suggest to you, Robbie, is that you pick Callie Yarncroke every time I'm picked to click the rest of the season,
He'll
and
never
at
score.
some point you'll get one.
Nope, he won't score again if I do that. The hot streak will end immediately.
I'm willing to just let you pick Forsberg every time.
Are you?
Yeah, I don't care. I mean, what do I have, 6, 5?
You've got 5.
Yeah, it's over. It is
It's
over.
over.
Why is Porth laughing?
I don't know. Porth over here.
The listeners-
Porth's got 1, so he's over here just acting like he's just blowing me out of the water in the competition.
It kind of feels like it, doesn't it?
Well, it does. I mean, at this point, I'm not on pace to get 1. The 0 pace, it lives on, baby. I have people tweeting me every game. Oh, Robbie, you were so close.
Did you have people tweeting you last night?
You were so close. Thanks. Feel like the kid that always gets picked last in basketball. Oh, you're so close, buddy. Thanks.
So meanwhile, this team is they're only 6 points back. Game in hand.
There were Predators fans asking the question on Twitter last night, should they rethink being a seller?
Don't trade anybody.
I'm serious. That was a question being tossed around last night on Twitter. I would still probably lean no. I mean, your goaltenders have played really well the last couple of games, and that's been a big part of why you've won. So let's not get carried away.
The
with
fact
what
that you
this
just
team
said
could be.
probably means you've opened the door some.
No, it doesn't.
Oh, okay. Well, you just said I would still probably lean no.
Okay.
What
So
would
you
open
would
the door?
So you would definitely lean no.
I definitely lean no.
Okay.
What would open the door for you?
Connor McDavid.
Well, no. I'm talking about from a success standpoint from the
To
Preds.
stand pat. That's what you're asking, right?
Yes.
There's not a scenario where you stand pat.
What if they reel off 8 straight wins?
You're not standing pat. You're either buying or selling. There's no standing pat.
Okay. So what's it take to buy? Imagine them buying.
winning every game between now and the trade deadline.
Okay.
Close to it.
Pretty tall order.
Yeah.
It's a pretty lofty goal, Herb.
It's a pretty lofty goal, Herb. So I'll probably stick with selling at this point.
That's why I want to pursue it.
Yeah. They are only 6 points behind the Blackhawks, who, as I said the other day, reeling a little bit. Columbus, big win last night for Columbus. Ryan Port's not happy about that against Carolina.
Nope.
But hey, only 6 points back. Now, some people are also, and I'll give the Predators credit, they are playing their butts off out there. That is, I think, obvious to see. And the young kids are coming in, and talent-wise, they're just not there right now. But they're making up for that with a heck of a lot of effort. They're playing really smart out there. They're not making gigantic mistakes, and when they are, their goaltenders are bailing them out. Saros made a couple of huge saves last night, including a breakaway in the third period as well. So I think they deserve a lot of credit for that. But there were Predators fans last night like, why are they playing their best hockey of the year without Ryan Ellis and Roman Josi and Matt Duchene?
Well, it's also without we've gotten past. It's kind of without expectation, right?
Yeah,
it's with young guys.
Yeah,
and it's without expectations. Prove yourself. And now Matt Duchene came on the other day and said, "Hey, this, we'll get back into this." So they're thinking that way. I'm not saying they're like, "Yeah, the season's over. Let's just go have fun and play." But it's a prove yourself and probably prove everybody wrong a little bit too, because all we talk about is who they're trading.
Yeah. I think there's some.
I'm not going to stop, talking about that, because I don't think that they're on the cusp of changing anything, fundamentally about what's happening. But you got to give him credit, and Saros too. I mean, guy comes in cold and plays like that.
40 saves. I mean, I guess you go back with him on Saturday, although 40 saves is a lot. Maybe you go back with Pekka.
No, I'd probably go UC Saros on Saturday.
And then Pekka Sunday?
Tomorrow, yeah.
He's young.
Pekka Rinne started the road trip with a pretty good performance in Dallas.
He did.
So why not end it that way?
I think you feel great about your goaltending right now. Playing pretty well. Pekka played well against Tampa Bay the other day. Come back, Saros playing well in this one. And look, I've said it. The talent out there is not great right now, but structurally, especially defensively, they're playing pretty well. They're not giving up a ton of just grade A quality looks. Like Florida got a lot of shots last night. It's not like they were just sitting there peppering Saros from the slot. They did a pretty good job of keeping them to the outside.
So this is also probably to the point of when you're shorthanded, you have to play a certain way, and it probably suits this team better a little bit. That. And some of the veterans maybe a little bit more likely to take a chance here and there.
Yeah, I think there's something to that. I mean, offensively last night, I didn't think Johansson's line was all that good with Forsberg and Tolvanen. I thought Granlund's line with Yarncroke and Arvidsson was outstanding.
Well, any line with Yarncroke is going to be outstanding.
Apparently so. They were unbelievable last night. So there's a limit to what you can do right now offensively. I think there is part of that where you just got to recognize that and play a certain way, and that's what they're doing.
Joe, your theory lived on last night. Calle Yarncroke, 2 goals. They don't lose.
Anytime they score 2 goals.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty much guaranteed, 2-0, 2 goals. Who can argue with that? It's 100%.
Let's go to our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Tyler from Berry Hill texted in, Joe totally hoodwinked me into taking that MSU under that was clearly done by halftime.
Oh, man, I'm sorry.
Sorry, Tyler.
I texted the group like 5 minutes into the game when every shot was going in. I'm like,
well, it's not looking good.
Not looking good right now.
Look, there's no excuse. It is wild to me. Like there was another game yesterday. It was like 20-19 at the half. That's what I thought this was going to be. Sometimes these teams get together, and Michigan State's so bad offensively. That's a big part of why I thought this. But sometimes they get together and you have these rock fights. Sometimes it's like, oh, this team doesn't know all my sets and everything works.
Yep.
And apparently that's what happened last night. But I apologize. I owe a big apology because I was like, oh, this is going to be ugly.
I think the words that he uttered were, if I know anything about basketball, you take the under in this game.
It's going to be 52-50.
Yeah. This is a good omen for my bracket.
It's
going to be real solid.
Can't wait for weekend winners.
Yeah, it's going to be great. When we come back, we will get into the NFL. A new TV deal gotten done in the NFL. What do we think of that? What does it mean for the league and the money situation moving forward. We'll get into that, and also a disturbing story coming out of Houston as well. We'll do that next. This is Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. How'd you like to watch the Preds game in style? Make sure you're tuning on later in the show as we reveal a keyword for you to text into the game line at 615-737-1025 for your chance to win the T-Mobile Hockey Home Gate. It's your chance to watch a weekend Preds game with a Dos Equis prize pack, which includes a case of beer, dessert from Nothing But Cakes, a T-Mobile prize pack, and food provided by 312 Pizza Company in Germantown. You must be 21 or older to enter, and we'll have that opportunity coming up for you a little bit later here in the show. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ryan Porth here with you on this Friday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. Also streaming live on YouTube and on Twitch and on Periscope as well. So giving a wave to the camera at the moment. Thanks to the people for joining us on those platforms. We've had a lot of fun the last few days, and you can catch us every day, both here on the radio, on the Game Nashville app, and streaming live on Twitch, Periscope, and on YouTube as well. Joe Rexrode eating it up over here.
I can't. It's like chewing. It's like walking and chewing gum at the same time.
You can't talk and wave
if I'm
at the
trying
same
to
time.
really peer into the camera,
Yeah,
with loving eyes, I can't talk at the same time.
it's okay.
Now I'm talking. I'm kind of hidden. Let me see. Maybe I can do this. What if I do the show like this?
You could.
Hey.
That's a little bit better right there.
How you doing? I think I'll go back to this.
Oh, wonderful times here.
If you're just listening right now, it's just like, what is happening?
Just driving.
And I'm like breathing in the microphone.
More quality audio from Joe Rexrode.
Save this clip. Save this segment.
Sex sells.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes, it does. Joe, a big day yesterday for the NFL, coming to an agreement on a new TV deal, which we knew was just going to be unbelievable. This TV deal with ESPN/ABC, Fox, CBS, NBC, Amazon, and the NFL Network running through the 2033 season, worth over $100 billion. We knew that the numbers on this were going to be fantastic. We talked a little bit about it with Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports a couple of weeks ago, and it's surrounding the conversation really with the Dak Prescott deal that he signed with the Cowboys, and maybe people feeling like Jerry Jones was tipping his hand at what was coming with the TV deal and maybe what the salary cap could look like here in the next few years. Assuming everything starts to get back to normal and fans are allowed back in the stands soon and the normal league revenue starts to take place, when you add this TV deal onto it, you're going to be talking about a whole lot of money for the NFL, and the salary cap is going to be going back up very quickly in the National Football League.
Yeah, no doubt. Now, my big question on this has been, is this going to be better for fans, for the viewer? One thing I know, like we have a piece at The Athletic about this, and the headline is NFL's era of free TV is starting to wilt. The streaming age of football is here. So the Thursday games are Amazon Prime, right?
Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
Yep.
So essentially, one thing about this is if you want everything, you're going to have streaming services.
Yeah.
Right? I'm still not completely clear because NFL Sunday Ticket is done, right? Which I think is, frankly, one of the great things in the world ever. Is NFL Sunday Ticket.
The world ever.
So I want to know what that's going to look like because, it's – you want this to be simple for people. Obviously the money's huge for the NFL. Yes, great for the NFL. They're going to make tons of money. Oh, and God, thank God you got that 17th game.
Exactly.
Get that more inventory. But I'm still not totally clear right now, like for the fan experience, is it better or worse because of this?
It's a good question. I mean, I think you're so used to the way things have been. Like, it's not going to take a while for people to adjust. Like, if they want to watch a Thursday night football game and do it on Amazon Prime, then I guess you'll do it. But are people going to buy an Amazon Prime membership just to watch football?
Right. I mean, because we're kind of caught in between right now, cord cutting and not cord cutting.
Yeah.
We have both, which is freaking expensive, and needs to change. But, obviously I think younger people, there's a lot of cord cutting, a lot of them, everybody streams, but there are a lot of people who are like, what the heck is that? I know are you losing people?
With my friend group, I can count on one hand the people that have cable. I mean, they just don't. They have YouTube TV or they stream Netflix all the time and go to a sports bar and watch games. Like, I don't have very many friends at all that have cable.
Find the Preds game right now on some Reddit illegal stream, so that
too.
they can watch it because it's not on YouTube TV.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the thing, and that's actually why we still have we have DirecTV for that. So it's like, hey, but also that was previously because of Sunday Ticket, which obviously if you cover a team and you're there every Sunday, home or road, it doesn't have much value other than your kids get to watch the football. But this year, when you're in a pandemic, it has a ton of value. That's going to be the next 2 seasons on DirecTV, and then the future is unclear. Apparently, ESPN, wants to do something like it. But I hope it's not divvied up into too many different things to stream. I just like the way that they did Sunday Ticket.
Yeah, I think most people did.
I mean, the red zone is, amazing.
I mean, what's better than getting home on a Sunday and football just everywhere? You don't have to leave the couch.
Yeah, and the red zone channel,
man.
If you're a big fantasy football player, pretty hard to beat if your team isn't playing at that point.
Absolutely. So that coming out yesterday, some details on the TV deal from the NFL. As we said, I mean, it's going to be very lucrative financially for the NFL. But I do wonder, and that's a good point brought up by you, is this going to be easier for the fans? How do they feel about this, especially when it gets into some of the streaming services that you might have to dip into? That's going to be very interesting to monitor as we move forward. Joe, some other big news yesterday in the NFL, and this has been brewing all week and continues day after day to get a new layer added to it, and that is a third civil lawsuit being filed against Deshaun Watson, the Houston Texans quarterback, of sexually assaulting a massage therapist. And this is something that's kind of been developing all week long, some civil cases coming up against Deshaun Watson alleging sexual assault. And I believe in total at this point, there are 9 cases involved at this point against Deshaun Watson that are out there and that are being drawn up in lawsuits. What do you think about all this? What's been your reaction to it? And this is obviously, with each passing day that goes by, not very good news, not a good look for Deshaun Watson. And certainly, I think at the beginning of the week when this started to come out, Deshaun Watson released a statement, and we talked about it here on the show. And it seemed like maybe in Houston the vibe was, all right, well, is this the Texans doing something to try to, mess with him a little bit or mess with the trade value? The guy that was involved with the first lawsuit apparently ran for public office and was good friends with Bob McNair. So there was that connection as well that Houston Texans fans were trying to make. And now with more and more cases coming about and more accusations being leveled, this seems to be a lot bigger than that.
Yeah, now there are details part of this. The most details are involving this massage parlor.
Yeah.
And the whole thing with the Texans, the conspiracy crap
doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Well, right, why? So they want to hurt themselves?
Yeah.
Because they want to get like a lot of things back for Deshaun. That
and of course,
it makes zero sense at all.
Beginning of the week, Jack Easterby's name came up in it because apparently everything that happens there is now Jack Easterby's fault.
Yes, exactly. It's amazing how that guy's a lightning rod. But yeah, this is look. I'm just reading this stuff, and it's troubling, and it's shocking to me.
Yeah,
that he would even be. Deshaun Watson is obviously has been a guy who I think a model player and citizen in this league from what we know. And this is a lot of stuff. So I'm keeping an open mind on it. I think in sports, and you know what? We talked last time about Michigan State. So, I was on that beat for a long time. And I think if you're on a beat, I think a college beat in particular, there's, when things happen, there's this impulse for everyone to believe the athlete, the coach, the sports figure, and not believe the woman. I think that's been a big problem. That said, it doesn't mean no one is guilty until proven innocent either. So I'm keeping an open mind on it, but it's troubling.
It is troubling, and at this point, nothing criminal has been filed against Deshaun Watson. That obviously could change as they move forward here. But also, the NFL is kind of its own governing body. You don't really need a criminal case to be presented for the NFL to take disciplinary action on this either. So it's going to be fascinating to see how they handle that.
Yeah, and the Houston police aren't talking right now, but this Tony Busby, who is this guy who has been out there with all this, and he's sort of weirdly kind of been hinting at it on social media, he said that they have sent a lot of or will be sending a package, that's a quote, to Houston police on this. So a long way to go on this. But yeah, my initial take when it first came out, because of the way, especially because of the way he presented it, it was like, this looks like some just garbage.
Yeah,
trying to get some money off a guy. But obviously, it's more than that.
Obviously so. So we'll continue to monitor this as more and more details come out, seemingly on a daily basis at this point, with Deshaun Watson being accused of sexual assault. When we come back, we will dive back into the Tennessee Titans and look ahead to what's left on the market in free agency. Where could the Titans go next? We'll discuss that coming up. But right now, got to tell you about my friends at FanDuel Sportsbook, and it's tournament time. With so many games going on, who wants to bet on just one game? That's why I love betting on parlays on FanDuel Sportsbook, because it's a great way to combine bets from different games for an even bigger win. And guess what? FanDuel is here to help your parlay if it doesn't go as planned. They'll give you up to $25 back in site credit if your parlay of 3 legs or more falls 1 leg short. That's 1 parlay per day each day of the tournament for new and existing users. That's why FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook app. They're always hooking us up. The app is so easy to use. They've got a lot of bet options to choose from and always exclusive, always on promotions. And when you win, you'll get paid in as little as 24 hours. If you've been thinking about signing up, now's the perfect time to give it a shot. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app and sign up with promo code ROB so they know that I sent you. That's FanDuel Sportsbook, promo code ROB. You must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. Refund issued is non-withdrawable site credit that expires in 7 days. A max refund of $25. Terms apply. See sportsbook.fanduel.com for details. And for problem gambling support, call 1-800-889-9789. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ryan Porth here with you on this Friday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. Talking Titans and free agency, streaming live, Periscope, YouTube, Twitch, for your viewing pleasure here on the program. Joe Rexrode, very excited about it. And Joe, let's quickly go to our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Rick texted in, loyal listener to the show, and says, LOL, Robby and Rexrode are the, quote, nothing to see here radio show.
Ooh.
You don't have to be a genius to see Vrabel screwed up the defense and ran off key players and coaches. Too lazy or scared to get to the truth. Sunshine blowers. He is using our term against us.
All right, Rick. Well, I want you to go find the show, Rick, that had information on that situation yesterday. Go find the other show out there.
Which show was it? I think it was ours.
I mean, look, we absolutely took what Wesley Woodyard said seriously. We talked about it a ton yesterday. If you hate Vrabel, that's fine.
Just because you hate Vrabel doesn't mean that you can make up your own facts, though.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we've been sitting here like, Vrabel, how dare you talk about our coach Vrabel? I don't think that's been this show at all. But I got
Joe and Robby's mic.
I left for a segment yesterday for a pretty long phone call. I got information that Dean Pease called the plays in the last game. Now, again, I think this is a question that's going to be asked more and should be asked more, and it'll get all cleared up. But we did not just dismiss Wesley Woodyard and say, "Oh, Wesley, how dare you talk about Vrabel?" There's no way. Tried to find out information and did find out information, Rick. So it's fine if you want to feel how you do about Vrabel. But if you've actually listened to us and you think that we are playing the house organ, then I don't know what to tell you, bud. You're wrong, and you don't know what you're talking about.
So, I get it.
People. You hear me, Rick? I'm looking at you, Rick,
in the camera. So I respect you using our term against us, though. The sunshine blowers. It's good. I like that.
That is true. That's one of our pet terms. Sometimes we're probably sunshine. Well, in the break, Poor said, "Oh, Rick talking about you guys being sunshine blowers." I was like, "Oh, because we talked about the Preds maybe aren't going to sell." Like,
yeah,
that may be sunshine blowy of us, if that's a word. Blowy.
Sure.
I don't know. Move on.
Okay, we'll do that. You just take a drink of your coffee. So the dust starting to settle a little bit on free agency for the Tennessee Titans. Where do you think J-Rob looks next? As you look at this roster right now, and we discussed it here on the show yesterday, and you said, I don't know how active you would expect the Titans to be at wide receiver in free agency as they move forward. Now, we saw some movement on the receiver front yesterday as well. Will Fuller signing in Miami. Kenny Golladay taking a long, hard look at the New York Giants right now, apparently in for a physical, taking a tour of the facility and all these different things. So some movement starting to take place. What do you think the next move could be for John Robinson and the Tennessee Titans? Is there a next move?
We're just going to ignore the huge move he made yesterday?
Yeah.
Kevin Johnson.
Yeah, buddy. Get him in here.
First round pick, Kevin
Yes,
Johnson.
sir. Problems are solved at cornerback, baby.
Yeah. Again, I reject the Vrabel bringing his buddies in. But Vrabel bringing in people. Yeah. But Vrabel bringing in people that he knows or has been around, that's certainly a theme. He was with Kevin Johnson in Houston. To me, that move is a depth move.
Yeah.
Right?
I hope so.
Yeah, I mean, now look, it could be. It could be right now that your starting corner group is Christian Fulton, Janoris Jenkins, and Kevin Johnson.
Oh, boy.
Bud Dupree, I hope you're ready for about 23 sacks.
At least.
Hope you're all healthy for the first week and ready to get about 4 or 5 sacks. I don't know who they're playing, but they're going to need some pass rush if that's your corner group. I think he's probably signed as the fourth corner, right?
That'd be my guess.
That's how I look at it.
Yeah.
So, but in free agency, well, I mean, I said it yesterday. I'll say it again. I don't think that they're going to sign one of these receivers. I don't think they are. I don't think they're going to sign one of the big ticket ones, I think for sure. Now, maybe there's still a depth receiver to be signed, but I don't think there's a lot more to do. I think the big spend was on Dupree, and then it was Autry, and a lot of cuts, and draft away.
Brian Porth, what's your next move if you're John Robinson in free agency? Do you have a next move?
Signing a receiver.
We just told you we don't think it's going to happen.
I don't care what Joe has to say. I'm signing a receiver if I'm John Robinson.
Okay.
I mean,
Which
you
one?
have to.
Who are you going? Who are you paying right now? I mean, you got Juju Smith-Schuster out there. You got T.Y. Hilton.
I would continue to play the waiting game on Juju and see what happens with that price.
Yeah.
You know, if you're in constant talks with his agent and Juju gets another offer from another team, it's not like you're just going to completely lose out on him. I mean, the agent would probably call J-Rob and say, all right, this is an offer we've got from another team. Can you match it or exceed it? And I would play that game with Juju.
Okay. So Juju is the focus, because that's the thing. I mean, I liked Curtis Samuel.
Yeah.
The lure of the Washington football team is just
Can't resist
too much for some people to resist. But I Like Juju would be the one guy I agree. He's the one guy I look at and say, okay, I mean, he could be a good 2 for this team. I have a feeling Juju Smith-Schuster is probably going to sign a 1-year deal somewhere for less than he wants to sign. But
I would take that flyer. If it was 1 year, $6 million for Juju, I would absolutely take that flyer.
I don't disagree with you. I think it's obviously a loaded receiver draft, and rookies come in ready and all that stuff, but it is a light room right now.
It's a light room, and you don't want to put all your eggs in the basket of a receiver coming in or 2 receivers coming in and being productive right off the bat. Like, are they well positioned to do that in today's NFL? Yeah. Is it easier, I guess, than ever before for college receivers to come in and contribute right away? Yeah, because of the way you run the offense in college football. I mean, the receiver's heavily involved, and there's a lot of concepts that they're familiar with coming in. So, yeah, you feel good about it, but also, like, you want A.J. Brown to be the veteran of the receiving room? Talk about his 3rd year.
I mean, honestly, I like that. I mean, if you brought in Juju, it's not like, oh, he's now the
right.
I mean, A.J. Brown is the leader of the room. That's fine. I'm fine with that. He's a great player.
Sure.
So I don't have a problem with that. You just would like it to not all be young / rookies / undrafted guys behind him. Like, I'm fine with him being the head of the room. He is. That's great. But, yeah, you'd like at least another veteran who's done some things in this league to be there with him somewhere along the way.
Like, if you don't sign another receiver and you don't spend a 1st or maybe even 2nd-round pick on a receiver and A.J. gets hurt, what are you going to do at that position?
Well, I think regardless of what happens from here on out, if A.J. gets hurt, you're in a world of hurt at wide receiver.
Sure, but if you sign Juju and you draft another receiver, at least you can get by with that. But if you don't sign any of these top remaining receivers and you just get another Cam Batson and then you draft Elijah Moore, you're in a world of hurt if AJ were to go down.
What if you draft, and I do like Elijah Moore a lot, by the way, what if you draft Elijah Moore and Kadarius Toney and Terrace Marshall?
Go all Denver Broncos on this draft?
Yeah.
Who got Judy and Hamler in the same draft?
Right. I mean, what if you got two guys you really like pretty high? 4 of the top 100 picks. 2 of them go to receivers.
Maybe the way you have to handle it as they move forward. You got to get a corner, too.
Yeah, you got to get a corner.
And a tight end.
I would still, under that scenario, I would still sign Juju on the 1-year deal and then have the 2 rookie receivers become your number 2 and number 3 after 2021.
It sounds good. I don't disagree with you. I'm just saying, like, brace yourself for it to not happen. And if Juju is not the guy, I don't know. There's no one else. Again, like Josh Reynolds, I've looked at as a guy, a low cost, nice 3-4 guy, which I think is worth still doing too.
Because, no T.Y. Hilton?
You know, I don't know why. I just feel like you got to be careful with the older guys who just stop being able to run like they used to run, because that's a big part of why he was so effective.
Yep.
And I'm afraid of him if I'm John Robinson or any of these GMs.
The Titans have signed too many of those receivers over the years. Remember Eric Moulds in a Titans uniform? Yeah. Not many people do because he sucked with the Titans. Randy Moss.
David Givens.
I mean, he was more in his prime and he just blew out his knee.
Yeah. Andre Johnson.
Yeah.
We could go down the
Titans
line
legend
there.
Randy Moss, yeah.
Andre Johnson. Still good enough to beat the Detroit Lions with a winning touchdown catch, by the way.
Great throw by Marcus
From the legendary Marcus Mariota.
Yeah, what a pass.
The only catch I will ever remember of Andre Johnson in a Titans uniform.
We'll continue this discussion on the other side of the break. Got a lot of your texts to get to as well on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. This is Robby and Rexrode here on 102.5 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game, taking you through this Friday morning here in Nashville, Tennessee, talking Titans and free agency, specifically at the wide receiver position, and taking your thoughts on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Let's go to the text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Plain Joe texts in and says, would you have interest in Marquise Goodwin for a low price if you're the Titans?
How low?
Yeah, how low are we talking? What's a low price?
How low can you go? He's okay. He's all right.
You have a better quarterback than Jimmy G slinging him the ball here in Nashville.
How old is Marquise Goodwin?
He is 30.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, thanks.
Even for a low price.
I mean, are we talking like $2 million?
Maybe.
$1.5 million?
Yeah, that's
I was not giving specifics. Just says low price.
So, I mean, like last year, so he played 9 games, 12 catches for 186 yards. The year before, 23 catches, 395 yards. I mean, he had a real nice 2017 with the Niners. That was the one really good year of his career.
Yep.
You know, he does have – I mean, he's a 16.6 career average per catch. He's a big play guy.
I mean, if he was
Real
a
low.
bargain basement number 4 receiver,
Sure.
I wouldn't say no to that. But if that is your solution for number 2, no, thank you.
No, it's not. It's not your solution.
It's
for number
not.
2.
Yeah.
But again, that's not necessarily what the texter was saying either. It's. I mean, I do the very low cost in a soft receiver market, 3rd, 4th guy. I think that's a pretty good idea.
Rick Merritt on Twitter, our good friend at Richter Scale on Twitter, says, hate to say this, but I agree with Rexrode. I don't see them going with a big-name wide receiver in free agency, maybe closer to camp.
What's up with this Rexrode? What is this, Ricky?
It's amazing. The fact that I didn't think of Rexrode before Ricky did makes me very upset.
It's kind of like pro wrestler.
There's a lot you can do with your name, man.
Yeah, there's a lot that has been done with it, too.
Sure.
Joe Rule.
Yeah, that one really wasn't on my radar, but when the NHL lady called you Joe Rule, that was awesome.
Yeah,
One of the underrated moments of 2020, for sure.
Let's go to Joe Rule of The Athletic.
Some good came out of this pandemic.
That's right. Let's go back to the text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. JP from Spring Hill says, a name to watch at wide receiver, Anthony Miller from the Chicago Bears. It is interesting. He's a guy that could be on the move out of Chicago. I don't know exactly what it would take to get in there on those sweepstakes, but
now wait, what is his status? I like Anthony Miller. I loved him at Memphis.
I think one of the insiders put it out earlier this week that the Bears were looking to trade Anthony Miller.
Correct.
Yeah. Which I would be very open to that.
No, I like Anthony Miller.
Yeah.
He's a nice player. The Bears cut Kyle Fuller. We haven't talked about that, by the way. I don't think the Titans – I mean, I just don't think the Titans have the money. But you see Kyle Fuller on the market.
Look good in green gold.
Is that what's going to happen?
I don't know.
Packers just have. I mean, that's a big. First of all, like, let's go back to the Bears fan for just a moment. My goodness,
What a time
you know,
to be a Chicago
you got
Bears
Andy
fan.
Dalton coming in, but you know, and Ryan Pace is like, oh, defense. This is about.
Yeah.
Oh, so you just cut your best defensive player.
Yeah.
Awesome, or your best corner and one of the best corners in the NFL. That's a big cut,
I would not pick the Bears to make the playoffs this next year. Just throwing that out there.
and you will not feel sorry for them.
No.
But Anthony Miller for the Titans, yes. If you can swing something like that, absolutely. I really like him. And again, he's one of those guys you got to keep in mind. Just like we knock a Mac Jones, say, for having all this talent around him.
Yep.
Give Anthony Miller a little bit of an asterisk, a good asterisk for playing with the quarterbacks he's played with in that city.
Yeah, let's go back to the text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Tyler from Berry Hill texts in and says, your next move is to restructure a contract already on the team like Ben Jones or Saffold if you want to sign a receiver. TD is banging the drum on Mike Williams. What do you guys think his value is? I guess if you did want to sign a big-name guy, although I will say the market for the big-name receivers, even though you're thinking they're probably not going to go and sign one of those guys at this point, whether it's Juju Smith-Schuster or maybe trading for a guy, probably unlikely. But I would you have to restructure Saffold or Ben Jones at this point to make that happen? I don't know. And then the receiving market is not where I think we thought it could be heading into free agency here.
Yeah, we're not privy right now to all the contract. I mean, they're not giving us a play-by-play of all the contract. That'll come through agents and likely through a Schefter or Rappaport. Again, I was told by a source that they found a money tree. This was a joke from the source. But again, it's not surprising they found money to do what they've done. It would be surprising, to me, a Saffold restructure may be part of what they've already done here, right? The numbers don't really add up already. So I don't think any other big ticket thing is on the way here for the Titans. But Mike Williams, so you're talking about, so they've picked up his option, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so so TD is banging the drum on trading for Mike Williams?
Maybe so.
Yeah.
We'll ask him at 8 o'clock.
$15.7 million for Mike Williams. Of course, Corey Davis draft class, guy, but he got his option. It's a lot for Mike Williams. Good player.
You don't look very excited about Mike Williams.
I've got that emoji with the teeth grinding. 15.7.
That's probably not going to happen.
No.
That's big.
Let's go to our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Got a texture that says, I'm just saying, I think the Titans are in bad need of a good tight end. So you brought Ferguson back in the fold. You've got Jeff Swaim back in the fold. I would agree. I mean, I think Anthony Ferguson needs to be your number 2 tight end, not your number 1 tight end. I don't know at this point what that's going to look like in free agency. Maybe you've got to address that in the draft. But tight end, a big part of this too. It's not just wide receiver. I think you've got to figure out another move at tight end as well.
Yeah, and what's the tight end draft situation look like?
Kyle Pitts. Trade up for Kyle Pitts.
Oh, Kyle Pitts.
Yeah. Well, the thing,
your whole draft.
And here's the thing with tight end in the draft. We've talked a lot about receivers being much more ready to go in the NFL now, right? I still think tight ends, that's not something where with a lot of guys you can immediately just snap your fingers, come into this offense. You're part of the run game, you're part of the pass game. Just here you go. You're ready to go. All right. It took Jonnu Smith some time, right?
Yeah.
I know he's playing behind Delaney Walker and stuff, but Jonnu Smith had to develop as a player. And I think at that position, it's a little bit more of a long-term project for most guys, or a lot of guys. So that's where is there an answer out there on that front? I don't think there's not a big ticket item coming. I don't think there's another big ticket item coming for the Titans. So I still think if there's a way to bring back Michael Pruitt, who is out there, I think that would be. I mean, if they had to go the room of Pruitt, Swaim, and Ferguson, at least they've all been here. I think that would be better than going out and getting someone who maybe has a little bit more receiving chops for a little bit more money. But yeah, one way or another, there's got to be another answer there too. I just think if you're going to draft a tight end somewhat high, you can't necessarily feel great that in 2021 that guy's going to come in and have a big impact.
At CT Jennings 22 on Periscope says, sorry if I missed it, but what do y'all think of the Titans' moves that have taken place so far? I think the short answer I would give is the Titans are a worse team right now than they were when the offseason began. Now, the picture's still incomplete. There's still free agency on the table. Obviously, still the draft on the table as well. So it's not like this is it and this is what the team's going to look like when they come into camp next year. But right now, I don't think there's really any way you could argue that the team is not worse with Corey Davis and Jonnu Smith gone. Right now, you don't really have any cornerbacks that you feel great about at this point either. So still a lot of work to be done. But offensively, I'll admit, I'm concerned. I mean, you had an elite offense in this league. You still have 3 pieces you feel great about in A.J. Brown, Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry. Other than that, they got a lot of work to do on that side of the ball.
Right. We haven't even talked about, I mean, to me, the move that I can't totally get is the Dennis Kelly for Kendall Lamb swap. I will say, though, Kendall Lamb is an awesome interview. So I
saw that.
Now I feel a little better about the move, selfishly.
Yes.
He was great. Danico Autry, and that's my favorite move, by the way. We've talked about that, but
some strong words for the Colts yesterday.
Danico Autry has got a little axigram with the Colts. I'm trying to paraphrase. That he said, I think he said, they know what I am, and it's personal now. I just paraphrase it. That's basically what he said. Basically, like, they know how good I am. They let me go. It's personal. So if you're the Titans, if you're a Titans fan, you love not only taking a good player from the Colts, but knowing that he's angry at the Colts.
Yeah.
And the Bud Dupree signing is it's a big money. It's a big, hey, if you can make it work, make the money work, pay him big money, he's got to come in and be a star. That's it. He's got 19 and a half sacks his last 27 games. That's great.
Pretty good.
Keep it up. Maybe even increase that pace a little bit. I mean, he's got to be great for this defense, which is not going the right direction. And also they got, I think, a huge moment of this whole offseason is getting Jayon Brown back. That's big for them.
Keith on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, says, Titan apologist Joe Rexrode, combining both.
Oh, there we go.
Pretty good.
Like Ray Rob.
Yeah. Way to go, Keith.
Oh, man. How about Vray Rexrode?
Yes.
Can I just make my first name Vray?
Yes. We love Mike Vrabel here.
I want him to adopt me.
Yes.
So. Vray Jr.
I would like to go live with Mike Vrabel. That's what we do here on the show. When we come back, we will switch gears and get into the NCAA tournament, looking ahead at the Midwest region, previewing that, which gets underway today in the NCAA tournament. We'll do that next. This is Robby and Rexrode, live from the Wholesaling Studio, powered by RumbleOn.com. Here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Welcome back in. Hour number 2 of Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ryan Poor taking you through this Friday morning here in Nashville, Tennessee, and also streaming live on Periscope and on YouTube and on Twitch as well at 102.5 The Game. You can watch us all show long each and every day here on those platforms as well. So Robby and Rexrode is everywhere out there on social media and on the radio as well.
Can't have enough.
Cannot have enough.
Especially if you look at us.
That's right.
Then you really can't
and
have
you're
enough.
really in for something if you can look at us while we're doing the show for sure.
Is Ricky watching too? You watching, Ricky?
Yeah, Ricky. Let us know on the Twitter.
You can have my autograph, man, whenever you want it.
That's right. MTSU women's basketball coach Rick Insel joins us at 7:30. They're taking on the Lady Falls this weekend. Going to be a great matchup on that front. A lot of fun. Anastasia Hayes taking on her former team there as well. So we'll talk to that a little bit more with Rick Insel at 7:30. TD, Teron Davenport at 8 o'clock to continue the conversation on the Titans. Crispy dropping by at 8:30. Terry Crisp for the latest on the Nashville Predators. Another big win for the Preds last night in Florida. And then weekend winners coming up at 9:30 as well. So lots to get to here today on the show, including, Joe, a lot of talk on the NCAA tournament. The first full day getting underway today here with the NCAA tournament. And the Midwest region is the final region that we are previewing here on the show. And, of course, Tennessee in that region. We'll get to them here in just a minute. Illinois, the 1 seed in this region. Houston at number 2. Oklahoma State at number 4 with Cade Cunningham, the best player in the country, leading the pack for them. And then West Virginia, the 3 seed as well. I'll start on this. It's interesting to me because I think Illinois, everybody's talking about Gonzaga and a lot of people talking about Baylor as well. Illinois, to me, might be, if they're not the first most dangerous team in this tournament, maybe second behind Gonzaga. I really like Illinois and the way they played to close out the season.
Did you say Illinois?
Yeah.
It's Illinois.
Whatever.
Do you say milk?
No, I don't.
Okay, good. Am I hearing that wrong? Are you hearing Illinois?
I thought it sounded a little weird.
Try it again.
Illinois.
Okay, that sounded fine.
That's what I said the whole time.
No, I don't think so.
I think you kind of added an E.
Yeah, thank you,
Added
Porth.
an E.
Yeah, like Illinois.
Okay.
Thank you, Porth.
Like Eleanor.
I'm
Look.
not the one. I'm not just hearing things.
I'm not listening to Ryan Porth on this. He can't say the word Jaguars.
Jacksonville Jaguars.
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 Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So his opinion means nothing to me on this.
Wow. I had no idea.
There you go.
We're really getting to some deep issues here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. Well, look, Illinois is my champ. So
Really?
oh yeah, yeah. And in fact, I was a little surprised because again they made us. They asked us to fill out our brackets.
I was forced.
Sunday night. Yeah. And I went to Illinois as the champion. I went Illinois Gonzaga in the tie game. But yeah, look, I think it's a bad deal if you want to talk about Tennessee being in the region with that one. I think Illinois and Gonzaga. I mean, to me, I think Baylor's very good too. But Baylor or Michigan, those are your preferred 1 seeds to top your region. But Tennessee's got things to worry about before they even get to close to that anyway.
Yes, they are an 8.5-point favorite today against Oregon State. So, of the 5-12 matchups, now I will say Reese Davis picked Oregon State to beat Tennessee in the matchup. I look at Oregon State and I look at what Tennessee is really good at in terms of how athletic they are. I think if Tennessee, even without John Fulkerson, is on, they should handle Oregon State pretty easily. Now, it's Tennessee, and offensively, they could totally fall apart. We've seen that happen time and time again this year with this group. But I think just based on the talent and the athleticism of the roster, Tennessee should handle Oregon State today.
Yeah, I mean, Oregon State's overall numbers are very bad. They went on a crazy run. We've seen both things here. Sometimes a team will go on something like that, and they'll keep it going. Like Georgetown is another one of those teams. Both of those teams stole bids last week.
Yep.
From, like Louisville would be in the tournament. Sorry, Jared. If not for, one of them, if one of them had lost. But I usually eye teams like that with suspicion. I mean, their overall numbers are very bad. They do have a big-time player in Ethan Thompson, senior. He's a scorer, guard. So he's someone you got to deal with if you're Tennessee. They've been red hot, and I'm assuming there's going to be no John Fulkerson today. I could be surprised by that, but I don't think we'll see him out there. That doesn't help Tennessee. But they should go out and take that 60 minutes, and if you play like that for 30 of 40 minutes today, I think you'll win by double figures. Did you get all my math on that?
Yeah, that was good.
Thank you.
Got to run the offense through the freshmen, too. Like Jaden Springer, Keon Johnson, got to be a big part of things today. And to your point, like Santiago Vescovi, just be ready to shoot. Be ready to jack up some threes when they kick it back out to you. I'm interested to see how the freshmen handle the moment today with Keon Johnson and Jaden Springer. Obviously, I mean, those guys, they'll be in the NBA next year. And Keon Johnson especially, he's going to be a high draft pick in the NBA. So this is kind of the moment that you're looking to see what kids like that are made of when the spotlight is shining the brightest and it's a one-and-done tournament that you've got to go win and play well. I'm interested to see how the freshmen can handle that, but based on what I've seen from those two so far, they've got it in them. Keon Johnson, if he plays anything like he did in the first half against Alabama, it's going to be special.
Right. Keon Johnson, avoid the charges, avoid the jumping in the air and trying to make a pass. He's not a three-point shooter, and that's to me, I think teams don't play off him enough. I would let him shoot from there.
Yeah.
Jaden Springer doesn't shoot enough from out there. He's a mid-40s three-point shooter who prefers to put the ball on the deck and hit mid-range jumpers. If you're good at it, that still counts as 2 points. But when he gets going downhill to the rim, he is tough to stop. It's just, again, you got 19 turnovers against Alabama, and they each had 5 of them. They had 10 of the 19. They also, yes, they're going to be the focal point of the offense, I believe, and they've got to be. But the role players, when you look at this team, like it's just every role player, if they just do their job and do it well, not extraordinarily, not outside themselves or anything. I mean, this team it's one of the most talented teams in the field, and I think it's a team that can win 2 games this weekend for sure and get to that big game against Illinois and have a chance to show that you're one of the best teams. They haven't looked like it enough, but I think it's in them.
The Tennessee fan to me is pulling hard for Liberty today against Oklahoma State. The college basketball fan in me is very curious to see what a Tennessee-Oklahoma State matchup could look like.
Yes.
And what Tennessee could do to try to slow down Cade Cunningham. That'd be awesome. Could
Yeah,
get that in a couple days.
And look, all due respect to Liberty, we don't want to watch that stuff.
No, we don't.
I want to watch Liberty. I don't want to watch UVA. I'm sorry, John Glenn. I don't want, But, hey, I also thought last night's Michigan State-UCLA game was going to be 52-50, so what do I know? This region also, I've got my big upset. I got 2. I told you about Ohio and UVA.
Yep.
Maybe there's a little bit of bias there because I don't want to watch UVA.
Right.
But UVA they've got COVID issues. I mean, there's some things that line up there. But I'm totally going. I just said, conference tournament team, be careful, be wary. Some of them keep going, some of them don't. Morehead State, baby.
Yeah.
Give me Morehead State against West Virginia. Sorry, Huggy Bear.
I've got it in my bracket.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay. Here we go. And I actually have Morehead State, Syracuse as a second-round game, Syracuse beating San Diego State. I mean, Boeheim, his teams are certainly capable of stinking at any moment.
Yes.
But that zone in this tournament has blown up many a better team. But, yeah, Morehead State. I'm sure they're not going to be able to continue what they did against Belmont. It was incredible to watch, like just
making everything.
Making every shot,
Yes.
basically, and just making every play correctly on offense. But when I watch a team play like that, I've got to. And obviously West Virginia, we know how Bob Huggins plays. It's going to be an up-and-down game. They're going to try to force turnovers. I think Morehead State beats that, takes advantage, and pulls off the shocker 14-3.
When we come back, we'll continue the conversation on the NCAA tournament and Tennessee specifically and get to the one Vol who must step up, who no one is talking about. We'll do that next. This is Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. 1025 The Game is kicking off every weekend with some free beer.
Free beer!
And who doesn't love free beer? Make sure you're tuning in all day today for your chance to win a $25 gift card from Bavarian Beer House located at Opry Mills Mall. We here on Robby and Rexrode have that opportunity coming up for you at 9:45 today with what I'm sure will be an outstanding trivia question from our very own Ryan Porth.
And Vols Hoops fans will want to be listening. That's a little tease.
Teasing.
Okay.
Ryan Porth, what an expert. Speaking of Vols Hoops, let's introduce our poll question of the day at 1025 The Game on Twitter. And today's question is this. What would you consider to be a success for Tennessee's NCAA tournament appearance? The options are 1 win in the tournament, getting to the Sweet 16, the Elite 8, or the Final Four. 128 votes are in. 45% say Sweet 16, 25% say the Elite 8, 21% say 1 win, and 9% say the Final Four.
Get those expectations up, Tennessee basketball fans.
People are beaten down by Tennessee athletics as a whole.
Yeah. Well, this is clearly a case, and I asked you before the show. In December, you're probably going to say, yeah, Final Four, like this team's good enough, right? Yeah. And now it's like, okay, get to the Sweet 16. Now, I understand the program's ever been to the Final Four, so it's not like you can just be like, hey, another Final Four, let's go.
Right.
But I'd like to see a few more people vote Final Four. Demand excellence.
Would that be your vote? What would you consider to be a success for this Tennessee team in the tournament? Especially given knowing what bracket they're in and getting to the Sweet 16, we think would require beating Cade Cunningham as well.
Yeah. It's probably the Sweet 16.
So clamoring for more votes of the Final Four.
Demand excellence, and I will be happy with mediocrity. Okay?
You're going to pour ice water right on top of all that.
That's
do
right.
as I say, not as I do.
That's
all
right.
This is my parenting philosophy. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is they've been put in a situation now. And actually, again, I said it before the seeding. Like, be a 6. You want to be a 6. Yeah. You can avoid the 1 all the way to the Elite 8. But yeah, you look at the bracket. I can't sit there if they win 2 games this weekend, and I do think that I would add, like, play well and competitively against Illinois, which I think they can do. If they give them a good game and lose a good game in the Sweet 16, you can't not call it a success. I still think there would be a little bit more for this team, and it's just been a weird year with this team.
Yeah.
Because I really did think early, like, this could be special, and we're going to see Jaden Springer and Keon Johnson go high in the draft, and we're going to look back. And if you just went roster top to bottom, because of those 2 guys largely, there are not many teams in this field that are more talented than Tennessee. I really don't believe there are. It's just this is the hard part about having your most talented players be one-and-done freshmen.
Right. And we've talked about Keon Johnson and Jaden Springer. Obviously, I mean, if this team is going to make any sort of deep run, those are 2 guys that have to play well, and they have to play well consistently for this team, especially, offensively at times, how inconsistent and limited this team has been. Those 2 have got to, I think, lead the way offensively for this group. But there are 1 or 2 guys that maybe aren't getting as much pub on the Tennessee Volunteers that are going to have to step up as well, that you feel very passionate about in this NCAA tournament. If Tennessee is going to have success outside of the 2 freshmen, who are 2 maybe under-the-radar candidates that have to step up?
I'm composing a tweet. This is so great. Here's my tweet. There are 2 players I'd expect to be on the next 2 Tennessee teams, and they're as important as anyone today, too. That makes sense? Is that a good tweet? That's not very – as anyone today for the – help me write the tweet. And they're as important as anyone today for the Vols.
There you go.
Is that better?
There you go.
If I add Vols?
Yeah.
Okay. I think I spelled everything right. Yeah, so I wrote a piece today about those 2 guys, and they are – okay, Porth, see if you can guess. Because I already told you. I
already know. Who are the 2 players on the Vols that are under the radar?
And they're going to be on the next 2 teams after this. The only 2 guys that I would say will be on the next 2 teams.
You're going to have to tell me.
Yeah, Santiago Vescovi and Josiah James. They're both sophomores. This team, it's kind of broken up into pairs. We talk about the freshmen all the time, right? Yeah. You got to build the offense around them, all that stuff. You got the seniors. You got Fulkerson and Pons, kind of like, hoping they'll be more vocal. A lot of this is leadership. I think one of the things that's hurt this team the last 2 years, they lost Grant Williams, they lost Admiral Schofield. Those guys were great in every facet, including yelling at somebody if they need it or just being vocal on the court. And Pons and Fulkerson, it's not them. James, but also Vescovi, I think, are those guys for this team. So I think they're already emerging as the leaders. They are going to be, like next year, you're going to have Kennedy Chandler, and you're going to have those two. And, I think Victor Bailey's probably back as a senior, but, there's sort of a lot of stuff to be determined in the front court and things like that. But right now, those guys have to be aggressive and hit shots and play great defense and just be really good role players. I think Josiah James is better than just a quote-unquote role player, even though his numbers, those guys are both like 8-point-a-game players.
Yeah.
But when they play well, and I've said it this week, I'll say it again, Tennessee beats Alabama with Josiah James not in foul trouble. He is the guy who, to me, will be guarding Cade Cunningham. Now, I know that Pons, maybe he'll get some possessions on him, but that's a Josiah James, to me, absolute matchup. Little bit better laterally than Pons. Pons is the best athlete on the floor, but so those two guys, to me, if they play well this weekend, Tennessee's going to get out of this weekend.
Wow. Even against Oklahoma State. I like that.
I've got him in my bracket beating Oklahoma State.
Okay, there you go.
I like Oklahoma State. Cade Cunningham's amazing. Yeah.
Port, did you have the Tennessee-Oklahoma State matchup in your bracket?
Yes, I did.
Who'd you have winning that one?
Oklahoma State.
Me too.
Me too.
You too?
You
Did
too.
you two too?
You two too?
Yeah?
I don't know why I just said me too.
Me too. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you guys agree. Well, let's just congratulate each other then.
Well, I think after last night, I'm just going to go against everything Rexrode says.
Well, that's actually.
Well, didn't you
probably,
also guarantee the Arkansas Colgate over?
Yeah.
All right, what's the over? All right.
So that game.
I know.
Yeah,
Look at it.
What's the over/under on that?
I think it's like 161. Let me
That'll be the
check.
game that ends up being 60 to 56.
Is it really 161?
Think so.
Ooh, that's high. I actually would probably still take it, but yeah, after my performance last night, I'd be
Smash the under.
What did you think of? We had Josh Ward on the other day from WNML in Knoxville and said, Eve Pons right now may be playing like a guy who found out he wasn't the defensive player of the year. What do you think of that? And do you think we all know how gifted he is, how athletic he is, and how defensively he can just take over games at times? Do you think maybe there's a little added motivation there for Eve Pons and not winning the defensive player of the year?
Maybe that was the case. It also could have been that Florida forgot he exists and just said, hey, I'll keep going to the rim and throwing up soft layups.
Just kept swatting him.
At some point, I'm looking at Florida like, hey, guys, pull up. Do something different. But no, he was incredible in that game, and maybe that's part of it. He's an eraser, and this is why to me it's like if Tennessee can be decent, just solid with their half court offense, move the ball side to side, don't turn it over, get shots up. If you do that, I think their defense is going to be absolutely ready to lock in today and against Oklahoma State. And again, I'm with you. Just as a basketball fan, that team defense against the number one pick is very enticing. Would love to see it. But, yeah, Pons, and then on the offensive side, it's not like there's going to be some switch flipped and he's going to change, but I'll forever want him as he moves forward too. Like you can bully anyone and you can go get to the rim, and you need to try to do that more often.
I don't understand it. And that's been something I've tried to figure out all season with him. Like when he wants to, he can be unstoppable getting to the basket. And why that doesn't happen more often, I think has been one of the biggest mysteries of this team all season long.
Right, and like in the post, he's good at carving out space for himself. He makes a nice target for an entry pass. but it always ends in a fadeaway jump shot.
Yeah.
And it's like, now, you don't want to get a charge, but there are times when here and there he'll go dunk on somebody like, dude,
do that a little bit more, man.
And look, he hit a huge 3 against Alabama. So here and there, if he has a nice, clean, top of the key look, fine. But if I'm scouting Tennessee as an opposing coach, I'm like, if that dude's in the corner, let him shoot all the threes he wants to shoot. I don't care. We got to give up something. Just let that guy. He's a 25% shooter from 3. Let him shoot. But defensively, he's going to probably do some things in this tournament that get replayed a lot.
I would say so.
You got to enjoy him. He's the best athlete on the floor. I think in every game from here, he'll be the best athlete on the floor.
Even with Cade Cunningham.
Yeah, I mean, just as a pure athlete.
Yeah.
Now, Cade Cunningham is a little bit maybe taller and is the number 1 pick. And Yves Pons is not the number 1 pick.
No.
Better basketball player, but athlete. Pretty hard to top him.
It's pretty hard to top him, that's for sure. When we come back, we'll continue the discussion on the college basketball front and switch gears to the women's tournament. MTSU and Rick Insell taking on the Tennessee Volunteers in the first round of the tournament. He'll join us next to talk about that and more. This is Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Welcome back in. Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ryan Porth here with you on this Friday morning here in Nashville, Tennessee. And the NCAA Women's Tournament getting underway this weekend as well. And a big matchup for MTSU taking on the Lady Vols this weekend, Sunday at 1 o'clock. And to help us talk more about that, we go to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in MTSU women's basketball coach Rick Insell. Rick, what's going on, man? Thanks for taking time to join us.
Well, thank y'all. Everything's going good. Good. Just can't wait to get to Sunday.
Absolutely. And Rick, about that, I know the game being nationally televised on ABC as well. Just how cool is that? How big of an opportunity is that, not only for you and your program, but for women's college basketball as a whole?
Well, it's big for Middle Tennessee State, and it helps us with recruiting. Anytime that we can get on national TV and show our brand and grow our brand, it's not going to do anything but help us. And that's what we're excited about. We're not an unknown in the women's basketball world. We're not a Connecticut, and we're not maybe a South Carolina, but people know that we play the game, and we recruit with those guys, and we get some and we lose some, but it can't do anything but help us and help our university and help our community, and we're pretty excited about it, to be honest.
Well, Rick, Anastasia Hayes, 26.5 points a game. I know she was leading the nation for a lot of this season, has just been obviously a tremendous player for you since transferring from Tennessee. How have you seen her grow since she came into Middle Tennessee? And how I guess, how emotional you think will this be for her to be playing the Lady Vols on Sunday?
Well, it could be, to be honest with you, but right now, as we all do, we mature as we get older. And, when Annie signed with Tennessee, she was right out of high school. And, that's been a couple years ago, maybe 3 years ago. And, she's matured. She's right now, she does more about coming down the floor instead of just sprinting down the floor and trying to get the ball up against the glass. She's reading the defenses, and she's grown on the floor. And she's also grown off the floor. So we're very proud of where she's at right now and what she's doing. She's got a tremendous future ahead of her. She's just an amazing, gifted young lady, and we're very proud to have her there at Middle Tennessee.
Rick, what's it been like for you and your staff and your team navigating through this season and getting to this point of the NCAA tournament? Obviously, with COVID and everything happening in the world this year, it's been a year unlike any other. What's it been like from your vantage point trying to navigate through that?
Well, as you know, I've been in this business for about 46 years, and I've never experienced anything like it. You feel for your players. It's tough. I mean, it's really, really tough to all the protocols that you have to go through. Just like in the last 2 weeks, they probably have taken 12 or 13 COVID tests. And then you can't be around, going to college is an experience. You go there, even though you're on scholarship to play basketball, that was the most exciting days of my life, and I can still remember those back 50 years ago. And you come in now as a freshman, and you're told you can't get out of your room, you can't get around other people, you got to be tested. Your classes, when you go to class, that's where you meet people and experience the college life, and most of everything's on virtual. It's been tough. I mean, really, you don't know from day to day who's going to be at practice, or who's going to be in isolation, or who's going to be quarantined. It's just it's a tough situation. You get on the road, you eat most of your meals on the bus or in the bus while you're traveling to and from, or in the plane while you're traveling to and from. And then when you get to where you're at and you got to play, then you can't get out of your room. Just like we've been locked up here in San Antonio now. We've been locked up for 2 days. We didn't see anybody. We didn't even see our teammates. We didn't get to come out of our room. So it's a very, very trying situation. But it's something that we've all had to go through as Americans and, people all over the world. So it's just one of those things. If you got to sacrifice a little, and these young ladies have really, really done well this year for us.
So, Rick, I know you had a great long relationship with the late great Pat Summitt. You coached Kelly Jolly at the time, Kelly Harper now Tennessee's coach, and AAU ball, correct? And I heard like she actually stayed at your house some and things like that. Like you had a very close relationship with her. What about those two relationships? How, I guess, tell us about them, and also what does that mean to you as you head into an opportunity like this?
Well, I'm very proud of what Kelly's done, and she did. She played at Sparta, White County, and of course they through that era of time they had one of the best programs in the state of Tennessee, along with Shelbyville. And we played. Her team and our team all played against each other all the way through the region tournament and then into the state tournament. And then in the summer times, her dad was a good friend of mine, Ken Jolly, and there's not a whole lot of hotels in Shelbyville at that time. And so in order for them to play, Paige Redmond, which started for Vanderbilt as their point guard, and Kelly Jolly, which started for Tennessee as their point guard, Paige being from Bradley County, and her dad, Frank, brought her up, and Kelly, her dad, Ken, brought her up to Shelbyville, and they stayed at my house through the AAU, through the weekends, maybe 2 or 3 weekends during the AAU period, which was around March and April. So we all got to know each other. We had a successful AAU career and travel team career all together, and then we would leave there and go to our respective high schools and do our thing. And then she went to, when Pat recruited her to Tennessee, I was ecstatic about that because Pat and me were close friends. Kelly's a winner. It's always been a winner. And look what she did when she came to Tennessee. And then she, wanting to go into coaching. Did that surprise me? No, because her dad was a coach. And did I think that she would be a great college coach? Absolutely. And she's done a great job. I thought Philip Fulmer made the right pick when he picked Kelly to come back home and lead the Lady Vols. She's probably as close of an individual to Pat Summitt as all of her players out there, probably, because, she wasn't an All-American in college, but she was right there at the heels of Pat, learning everything what was going on in the game, during the game, and then she ran her program, ran her teams for her. So, I'm not surprised at all. And when she's not playing the Lady Raiders, I'm for her. But when she's Sunday, I won't be for her. I promise you that.
MTSU women's basketball coach Rick Insel on the line with us, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. So, Rick, with that in mind, what do you think specifically of the matchup for y'all taking on Tennessee on Sunday, and how exciting is this for you and your program?
Well, we feel pretty good. We've had a couple of practices, and we feel pretty good about where we're at right now. Now, they're big, and, their offensive rebounding bothers me. They're so big at the blocks. They're 6'5" and maybe 6'6", 6'5". They've got 2 outstanding guards on the perimeter that we've got to deal with. And, if we can deal with those and keep them off the glass, I think we're in great shape. We shoot the ball and push the ball as much as they do, and I'm pretty happy with my kids.
Now you did you mentioned the other day, Rick, scheduling Tennessee. I'm a big believer in men's, women's basketball. Tennessee should schedule as many in-state schools as possible. Vanderbilt too. Is this something that is going to be able to be arranged moving forward? You playing Tennessee on a regular basis?
Well, I hope so. I don't really know who Kelly's got doing her scheduling. We're Matt, my son, does ours, and we play anybody. I mean, if they've got a good basketball team, we want to play them. You can't. I've always been of the philosophy you can't get better unless you play people better than you. And so, the door's open from our end. Now, I don't know about theirs. I'm sure that Kelly's got to wrap her arms around her program right now. She's only been there a couple of years and gone through this one COVID year. So, you don't really know what's going on with the other program or with the other situation. So, in our case, yes, we're very interested, and we'll always remain open. We don't care as long as our main thing is our fan base. We want to bring good basketball teams into Murphy Center to play the Lady Raiders and to reward our fan base.
MTSU women's basketball coach Rick Insel has been our guest here on Robby and Rexrode. Rick, really appreciate you taking time to join us this morning, and good luck this weekend against the Lady Vols.
Well, thank you two guys. We appreciate y'all.
Absolutely.
Thanks,
Rick Insel, MTSU women's basketball coach, our guest here on Robby and Rexrode. That's awesome. I'm looking forward to this game, and the fact that it's MTSU and the Lady Vols getting that local angle to it, I'll be watching on Sunday at 1 o'clock.
And you can't have better storylines.
No.
Anastasia Hayes, incredible talent. It's so cool to see her doing what she's doing with Middle Tennessee.
Yeah.
And obviously just, the fact that he coached Kelly Harper, he was close to the Pat Summit. And I do hope on that last point there, whoever does that scheduling for Tennessee,
get that figured out.
Look, college basketball in this state is incredible, and it's better if the Power 5 programs say, you know what, we're going to play everybody we can play in the state.
How about that game being on ABC, too?
I know.
That's not just on ESPN or the Deuce. That's on ABC.
ABC, 1 o'clock Sunday.
Good stuff.
It is time for Call Your Shot Friday. We need your bold predictions in the world of sports. Let us know on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. It can be with the Titans and free agency, the Predators. Everything is on the table. We'll do that next. This is Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 1025, The Game.
The sports weekend has arrived. You know what that means.
Shoot your shot.
It's time for Call Your Shot Friday with Robby and Rexrode on ESPN 1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
And it is that time of the week, time for Call Your Shot Friday here on Robby and Rexrode. We need your bold predictions in the world of sports. 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025 on our phone and text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Also, we'll take them on Periscope and on YouTube and on Twitch as well, streaming live at 1025 The Game. So with that in mind, Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ryan Porth here with you on this Friday. And Ryan Porth has had his called shots predicted for the last few days. We'll get to his here in just a few seconds. But, Joe, as we look back at Call Your Shot Friday from last week, what stood out to you? How did we do in Call Your Shot Friday last week? I'm looking at my list. Some hits, some misses last week. Probably a better week than I've had in a long time.
Well, let's go to mine real quick.
Okay.
Arkansas will win the SEC tournament. Ole Miss will beat LSU and sneak into the field. Titans will keep Corey Davis at about 10 million a year. 0 for 3. Robby, see, I'm not just a sunshine blower. We're willing to rip ourselves here. But, Robby, you did pretty well. You had Alabama winning the SEC tournament. You had LSU winning by 3 points or less against Ole Miss. They won by more, but they
won by 3.
Oh, did they win by 3?
Yeah.
Ooh, I apologize.
Yeah. So that's 2 for 2 right there.
You got Jeremy Davies getting his first NHL point Saturday.
That did not happen.
And by this time, today, the Preds will have made a trade.
That also didn't happen. 2
All
for 4.
Right. So I gotta hurry because Porth has 19 shots. Illinois winning the Big Ten tournament. Very good.
Ding, ding, ding.
Arkansas SEC tournament like me.
Whoops.
No. UNC ACC tournament. No. Janu, Jayon, and Corey gone, and you were right, except that Jayon couldn't get the deal, and he's back.
I'm glad I got that wrong.
Carl Lawson, free agent signing, no. Richard Higgins, free agent signing, no. Preds, 5 goals in 2 games.
He got that one.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, good job. So,
also,
Robby did quite well.
No, you
Ryan,
must
not very well.
Go back to the previous week, too, because there was a called shot that I made. Not that I'm quite celebrating this one, but there was a called shot that I made 2 weeks ago that came true this week.
So what was it?
With the Vaccaro cut?
That Ralph Kruger for the Buffalo Sabres was going to be the next NHL coach that got fired.
And he was.
Oh, well done. There you go.
Nice job, Ryan Porth.
I'm trying to keep up with all these shots. You got so many shots.
It's hard to write down.
Well, you keep a record of
spraying them all over the
Well,
place.
this is the week, though. We get to find out if bringing Jeffrey along at the NCAA tournament helps the Vols make a deep run. This is when it starts, today. Jeffrey is there. He's in the bubble.
Jeffrey. Forgot about Jeffrey. I left
How
Jeffrey
could you
behind.
How can you forget Jeffrey?
That's right. Ryan Porth, with that in mind,
Yes,
as
sir.
you do every week, kick us off here on Call Your Shot Friday.
All right, let's start with the National Hockey League. You know, if you recall earlier in the season when the Preds played the Stars, I called a shot that the Preds and Stars were going to get in a fight, and that did not happen. They are going to get in a fight Sunday night, the Preds and the Stars, and someone is going to pick the fight with Jason Dickinson of the Stars because he's the one who knocked out Roman Josi, who hasn't played since the start of the road trip.
Probably a good call.
So someone is going to drop the gloves with Dickinson.
I vote Matthew Olivier.
It's a pretty good vote right there. Yeah. Looking at the trade deadline, I know a couple weeks ago we all made predictions on Matthias Ekholm. I will get the ball rolling on Mikhail Granlund and say that he ends up on Long Island, that he's going to the Islanders.
I like that.
The college basketball tournament, a combined 4, 11, and 12 seeds are going to win in round 1, and 2 will make it to the Sweet 16.
So 4, either 11 or 12 seeds will win in round 1.
UCLA, Syracuse, Santa Barbara, Winthrop.
Okay.
Okay, hold on. You're. Let me just make sure I write all this down.
All right, you keep typing on your
UCSB.
Your portable keyboard there.
Yeah.
The T works.
UCLA, Syracuse, UCSB, Winthrop.
Okay. A lot of faith in Winthrop out there.
And then 2 of those teams will make it to the Sweet 16.
Okay.
Upsets.
Which ones?
UCLA and UCSB.
Are you referring to UCLA as UCLA?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Upset special, Ohio upsets Virginia.
All right.
That is my upset special for the bracket. And then a special shot just for Joe Rexrode. Taysom Hill starts week 1 for the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah. All right.
Oh, boy.
Come on.
Let's all remember this.
Got that Taysom Hill fever. All righty. Ryan Porth, prepared as always for Call Your Shot Friday here on the program. Joe Rexrode, your called shots for the week.
See, I shouldn't have. I kind of tipped my hand, but that's okay. I'm still going to keep it as a called shot.
Yeah, just keep doing
but
it.
Hold on, let me look at my bracket because I'm going to be consistent with my bracket here.
Can't deviate.
Yeah, now that I look at my bracket, I'm not as double digit heavy in the later rounds as I should be. But anyway, okay. First of all, the Titans. Is this a shot? Will not sign another big free agent. It's kind of weak.
Is it any free agent at all, or just another?
That's
big
kind of
free
vague.
agent?
That's kind of vague. They will sign 2 more players, but at low cost. They're not going to sign anything close to another big ticket player. Okay. But I've got 2 more players that will be signed.
Okay.
I got Morehead State and Ohio scoring the Shockers this weekend over West Virginia and Virginia. Sorry to my former home state, Virginia, but you're going down to the Bobcats, and I'm totally on the OVC shocking champion Morehead State. I've got Anastasia Hayes will score 30 Sunday, but the Lady Vols will survive a single-digit game. I think it'll be close, and they'll put it away and win by about 7 or 8. But it will be the Lady Raiders are going to battle in this one. It's a fascinating matchup, and one double-digit seed will be alive in the Sweet 16.
Okay.
And that is Syracuse.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm going with the Boeheim zone. Half the time it works out for them, and half the time it's just complete.
Big J.
They're not
Jim Boeheim
good.
supporter.
They're not good.
No.
But that zone is a problem a lot of times this time of year.
I will quickly roll through mine. Mikhail Granlund will end up on the Toronto Maple Leafs. I think he ends up in Toronto. I think there's a lot of smoke there. I think it makes a lot of sense. And he would be a guy that comes in and helps immediately. So I think Granlund helps.
I was on
Toronto.
I was on board with Toronto before the Undersley injury for the Islanders.
Yeah. It makes sense. We'll see what happens there. I say Anastasia Hayes goes for 30 or more against the Lady Vols coming up on Sunday. A revenge game for Anastasia Hayes. Now, it's not going to be enough. I think Tennessee gets it done, and they win the game. But I think Anastasia Hayes has a big game. And I also am a big fan of Morehead State. They get to the Sweet 16.
Whoa.
Morehead State will be a representative in the Sweet 16.
I mean, y'all are just like copying each other on these called shots.
Yeah. Well, would that make Belmont fans feel better or worse?
Probably worse.
I mean, you could say, well, lost to a Sweet 16 team. But, yeah, you also could say, could have been us.
We're a better team than them all year long.
Yeah.
So that's tough. But, yeah, Sweet 16. They'll beat Syracuse in the second round. Upset of West Virginia, which, by the way, I think they're 13-point dogs against West Virginia. They get the win today. They beat Syracuse in the second round. There you go. That's my called shots.
I like it.
Let's go to the text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Dwight texted in and says, Tennessee will be out this weekend in the NCAA tournament. Little note that he's a Kentucky fan, so no hatred there whatsoever.
No, you're not biased.
Dwight, hate watching Tennessee Vols, says they'll be out this weekend in the NCAA tournament. Kelton on our text line says, called shot, Ellie Tolvanen will lead the team in goals by the end of the season. So Kelton's saying that Ellie Tolvanen going to put some goals together, and by season's end, he will surpass Philip Forsberg for the team leading goals. Or maybe Callie Yarncroke.
Was it a power play last night where Tolvanen just kept just winding up and firing, and it looked like he was about to score?
Yeah.
And Bobrovsky was like a fish out of water?
Yeah.
I couldn't believe he didn't score there.
That's where we've gotten to.
I don't think that's going to happen, but that's a good called shot,
That's where we've gotten to with Ellie Tolvanen. And that's you're exactly right. Like, that is going out there, taking a leap of faith, and saying, this is what I think is going to happen the rest of the year. Ellie Tolvanen leading the team in scoring.
Who was that?
Also not crazy.
That was Kelton. No, yeah.
It's not crazy, but it's a shot. Remind us if you get it right, Kelton.
That's right.
We may forget.
Let's go back to the text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Nate texts in and says, based on yesterday's performance I'm going to go opposite of Joe on all of his college basketball shots. So, Joe, you've really let the people down. They're upset with you today.
Well,
the
they
program.
should be. I mean, I said a game was going to be 52-50. That turned out 86-80. But actually, don't forget, it went to overtime. I think it was 52-50 or 50 all, 52-50 at the end of regulation.
Yes,
Yeah.
and then it went into overtime.
And then it was like a third. Like they just went nuts at overtime. They were exhausted. If you didn't stay up to watch the game, believe me. That was terrible. I have no excuse for myself.
I feel worse about my Ohio called shot now because Joe went with that, and I feel worse about picking Illinois to win the national title and putting some coin on it because Joe agrees with it.
So now we've gone from Joe
Understandable.
Rexrode, college basketball expert, to now he doesn't know a thing about college basketball.
All because
How's that feel?
All because
That's
of
fine.
one over-under.
Yeah.
Well, but hey, that's what this tournament is, right?
Yeah.
This tournament turns me into an idiot every year, and I love it. I still love you, NCAA tournament.
When we come back, we'll get back into the Tennessee Titans. Teron Davenport, ESPN NFL Nation Titans reporter and host of Talking with TD, will join us. We'll do that next. This is Robby and Rexrode here, live from the Wholesale Link studio, powered by RumbleOn.com. You're on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Welcome back in. Hour number 3 of Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ryan Porth here with you on this Friday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. Streaming live on Periscope, on YouTube, and on Twitch as well. Joe Rexrode flexing for the camera, having a lot of fun. I wish Teron Davenport could see this right now. With that in mind, let's go to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in our good friend Teron Davenport, ESPN NFL Nation Titans reporter and host of Talking with TD. TD, what's going on, man? How we doing?
Hey, what's going on? Good morning, man. It's cool to know you guys got the streaming option. That's pretty dope.
Yeah, it is really dope, and it's probably good for you that you just didn't see what Joe Rexrode was doing, flexing for the camera. It was not a pretty sight to behold.
I just watched myself, man. I got it. That was just ridiculous. I'm sorry to all the viewers.
That's right.
Randy Macho Man Savage.
That's
style.
right.
That's right. Or George Animal Steel.
That's right. Either one.
Ooh.
One of my favorites.
Just legendary. Joe Rexrode over here. TD, obviously a lot to get to today. Let's start with bringing in Bud Dupree and Danico Autry on that defensive front for the Tennessee Titans. What did you think of those moves? What did you think of the contracts that those two signed, and how John Robinson, the Titans, handled addressing the pass rush so far in free agency?
Well, I think they were both really good moves. It clearly shows that they are committed to getting better as far as getting after the quarterback and just being disruptive. But I think lost in all that is just the quality of run defense, too. You know, Bud Dupree is one of the best run defenders in the game. It's tough the way, he is able to set that edge or even just be disruptive and knife in there and get tackles for a loss. That's something that he does that's underrated, right? So I think those were good moves. The contracts, like I said, they showed that it's a dedication to getting better on defense. It's really interesting how they went and made those moves that day, the first day of the negotiating period. And I think really we just have to, just see how this recovery for Bud Dupree goes. I don't know that it's right for people to expect him to be ultra explosive and disruptive right from the start. I think that's going to be a gradual buildup.
No way. 5 sacks first week or it's a bust, TD. I'm calling it right now.
Well, you know how it goes.
Yes. Okay, so the whole picture, TD, of everything we've seen from the Titans, signing, cutting, not re-signing, what's the most surprising thing to you?
The most surprising thing to me is just it seems like they're relying on the draft to add playmakers on offense. I think that's the thing that's surprising. I thought for sure they would get one of the second-tier receivers, which are Sean Higgins, Keelan Cole, those types, Kendrick Bourne, but now here we are this late into free agency and nothing has been done on the receiver side of things. So that's why if you look at my timeline, you'll see a whole bunch of clips of Rashad Bateman posted because he's almost become like one of the gold star prospects for them to take a look at.
Yeah, he certainly has, and maybe having to draft a couple of receivers in the draft coming up as well. Like, how do you go about handling the draft now, especially in the first round, TD, just based on what we know at this point? Because Joe and I have, until you sign Bud Dupree and Danico Autry, we've operated under the assumption that maybe you're going edge in the first round or maybe you're going on the defensive line, but now you need some help at tight end, you need some help at cornerback, and certainly at wide receiver as well. With all things being equal and knowing what we know at this moment about this roster, which position would you lean in the first round if you're the Titans?
Yeah, well, fortunately for the Titans, one of the options that you mentioned are kind of off the table, and that's tight end, at least in the first round. So unless, a Laramie Tunsil-like fall for Kyle Pitts happens and they move up to get him, which we know is not likely. So for me, I think it does come down to receiver, corner, and outside linebacker, defensive end, that type of player. And really what you have to be careful of is not overdrafting and not getting the 10th rated receiver over the 3rd rated defensive end, or that type of situation. You just watch the board. If you're going to stay put at 22, you let a good player fall down to you because these quarterbacks are going to get overdrafted and pushed up the board. So that's going to push a really good player down to 22. So I think they'll have a good option as far as guys that are in those three positions of need. I do say this. Eric Stokes is a guy that's kind of pushing up the board. I don't know that I would take him in the first round. He's a guy I could see them possibly overdrafting at 22, but it's going to be interesting just watching how everything plays out.
So TD and I were in a text thread yesterday with some other folks who cover the Titans, and just all of us gushing about Kendall Lamb. I mean, I'm so first of all, let's hope everything gets back to normal. We get into the locker room. You actually have conversations with people. He's great from a media perspective. He was really impressive just talking about his career, blocking for Nick Chubb versus Derrick Henry. I mean, all that stuff. But on the field, TD, I don't totally understand that move. What is your how do you perceive that? Do you look at it like Lamb is they just want Lamb to be the starter instead of Kelly? Do you think they're going to draft relatively high at that spot? Is like the emergence of Quessenberry last year part of the equation here? Like, what did you think when it happened? What do you think now?
Yeah, I think all of those are factors. When they released Dennis Kelly, I was really confused by that. I thought that he had solidified himself as a pretty good starter at right tackle for them, and he did a lot for that team. Jack Conklin moving on, that loss was really cushioned by Kelly being able to come in and play some really good football, right? He and Nate Davis on that right side, man, they were really good. So seeing him get released, it was surprising. I thought he was an extension candidate, but I think, you have to factor in signing Tyson Braylow too. That's a move that's going to, give them another guy to compete for that starting right tackle spot. I would expect them to draft a tackle as well. I don't know about in the first round, but the good thing is there are other rounds in the draft, and you have options to get a prospect later that could help. Probably not immediately, but down the line.
ESPN NFL Nation Titans reporter and host of Talking with TD, Teron Davenport, our guest, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. And TD, obviously, I mean, we were talking to you last week and having the conversation here on the show about the big three in free agency for the Titans of Corey Davis, Jonnu Smith, and Jayon Brown. And at least Joe and I felt like of those three, probably Jayon Brown was the least likely to return, and yet here he is coming back into the fold with the Titans. What do you think of how it's played out for all three of those guys, with Corey Davis ending up in New York, Jonnu Smith signing the big deal with the Patriots, and how big is it for the Titans to get Jayon Brown back in the fold?
Yeah, I think it's big to get him back because, this is a team that was working to get that defense right, and he's probably been one of the most consistent defenders, over the last 3 years. And he was a guy, green dot, he's the one that calls the plays, so that's something to definitely consider when looking at him coming back. I was really surprised when I saw the Matt Milano deal. I thought for sure that Jayon Brown was gone because I feel he's every bit as good of a player as Milano. But the Titans were fortunate, got the 1 year up to $5.5 million deal. I think that was really good for them. Jonnu Smith and Corey Davis, I think Jonnu, he's going to the perfect situation for him. They're going to rely on him in the red zone, and he just single-handedly makes their red zone offense better. They like versatile players, so I'm curious how Josh McDaniels is going to be able to work with him. We're looking forward to that. And Corey Davis, to the Jets, I just want to see who his quarterback's going to be. Sam Darnold, if I was a receiver, I wouldn't be too happy with that one. He can put the ball out there, but I think there's too many turnovers and there's too many question marks with him. And then if they get Zach Wilson, that'd be interesting because that guy really could throw the ball down the field with the best of them. So I want to see how that works out. They added some other receivers as well, so I think they'll be in a good place. But it's just, he went to a rebuild situation, which kind of surprised me.
TD, Wesley Woodyard was on Darren Daunic and Chase the other day, said some really interesting things here and elsewhere about Mike Vrabel, Dean Pease, the way things went down in the playoffs. What did you make of what he said?
Yeah, there's a lot to make of it. I thought it was interesting what he said. He spoke what he felt is the truth. And, I could see some of the things that he's saying as far as the whole idea of the players wanting to have an opportunity to kind of police themselves. Coach Vrabel has done that to an extent, but we don't know everything that's going on behind those closed doors. So I think just getting that perspective from him and having him speak on that was good. I just wonder where everything falls, because he was very abrasive with his comments, and then there have been things that have been said that I've heard that were kind of on the other end of the spectrum, as far as a little bit softer, but still along the same lines. So it was just good that you guys were able to get his perspective and just an inside. This is what's going on. I think that was good, and it was a great get by the station.
ESPN NFL Nation Titans reporter, host of Talking with TD, Teron Davenport has been our guest here on Robby and Rexrode. TD, great stuff as always, my man. Appreciate you taking some time this morning to join us.
Yeah, for sure. Appreciate you guys. Take it easy.
Absolutely. You as well. When we come back, we'll react to a little bit of what TD had to say there and take your thoughts on the Titans and free agency as well. 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025 on our phone and text lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We'll do that next. This is Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 1025 The Game. When the Preds have a weekday game this season, it's your chance to participate in Preds Pick to Click, brought to you by New Amsterdam Vodka. If you guess a Preds player that scores a goal in the game that night, you will win a prize pack. The next chance to participate is Tuesday morning at 8:45.
Have you won any prize packs this season, Robby?
Yeah, it's been a big old offer for Robby Stanley at that point. Here again, Ryan Porth.
I'll change the subject.
Throwing it out there like he's just this constant winner.
Yeah.
Won one time this
He's got
year.
a whole 1 point lead over you.
Yeah.
It's goals. 1 goal lead.
One run, whatever. So is this better? So doing it like this, does it sound the same if I do it like this? Porth, come on, Porth. Look at me. Look at me,
I'm
Porth.
looking at you just like everybody's looking at you on Periscope,
Yeah,
Twitch,
looks
YouTube.
great.
So do it like this? Do the microphone?
Yeah,
Sure.
I think it looks great. I'm looking at it right now on the stream.
Sound,
Yeah. Everybody
better?
can see your
See that
beautiful.
stash, the hair
Yeah.
for Rexrode.
Nice.
Again,
All right.
streaming live every
Enjoy.
day here on the show, Periscope, Twitch, and on YouTube. So you can follow along with us on social media now as well and see the beautiful Joe Rexrode today, who not only has his stash and his goatee going today, but also in an athletic sweatshirt as well.
It's a very comfortable sweatshirt.
It
I
is.
want you to enjoy. You who are watching right now, enjoy.
That's right. Absolutely. Thanks to Teron Davenport from ESPN for joining us in the last segment. Talking Titans, taking your thoughts on the Titans and in free agency on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Coy in Clarksville text in and says, everyone is speculating that Robinson is about to make a big move. What are your guys' thoughts on what big move he should make? Potentially trading up in the draft and selecting Devontae Smith from Alabama. Would that be on the table?
Oh, there's a big move. Okay, so he's not talking free agency big move. He's talking draft big move. Boy, what are you putting together to get up that high to get Devontae Smith?
That's going to take a heck of a package.
Here's the thing. Devontae Smith is fantastic. So is Jalen Waddle. So is Jamar Chase. Those guys are all going very early. Same with Kyle Pitts. To me, you have too many needs. In fact, so we are doing at The Athletic another mock draft 2.0 post free agency, and I just made a selection today, and I actually traded down to make the selection because the Titans need so many players in this draft, especially if something doesn't change pretty dramatically in free agency, and I don't think it's going to. It's not like they're loading up here in free agency. They paid serious money for a couple really important players on defense, but I think that if they move in this draft, it would be slightly up. If there's one player they really like, a few spots up, or I do think trading down. And my trade down, by the way, just call me, what was it? Rex Rob? Call me Rex Rob.
Rex Rob.
That's beautiful. My trade down got them, I think, pick 96. So 5 picks in the top 100. Right now they have 4 in the top 100. I got them a 5th in the top 100.
Look at you.
Well, and that's what I think they kind of need to do if they can do it, because TD brought up Rashad Bateman. He's one of those guys. After that top tier receivers, you have a big break if you look at needs from the other teams and everything before you get to another really good second tier of receivers. And again, the Titans may be in a position here of needing to take 2 from that tier. So if you can get another pick in there, get your starting cornerback, get a couple receivers, get a tight end, get another defensive lineman, get an edge. You can't get them all, but if you had 5 of the top 100, 4 of the top 100 already is good. I think 5 would be great. And trading up for something like that for Devontae Smith, as much as I like him or those guys, I don't think that's the way to go.
I don't think it is either. And I think the other thing you've got to be careful of, and TD brought this up in the last segment, and I think it's a great point, like you can't overreach for players. Like you cannot overdraft. If a run on receivers is going and you know that you need receivers, you can't take your 5th or 6th receiver on the board when the 1st or 2nd cornerback is sitting there or the 2nd or 3rd edge rusher is sitting there. Like, as much as you may be tempted to do that and may be tempted to snatch up a receiver while you can't go about the business of overreaching for players and drafting them too high. That's what you got to guard against if you're the Titans and John Robinson.
Absolutely. And, to his point, it's interesting that he brought up Eric Stokes because he went. Can't give up too much of this mock draft. Very top secret stuff. But he went in the first round here. And not a guy who has really been in there a lot as a now that so the, Tyson Campbell. So you got 2 Georgia corners who may go in the first round, but at corner as well, you kind of have. I think a lot of people look at like Farley and Surtain as the high guys, maybe top 10-ish, right in there, and then you have kind of a drop. Like where will J.C. Horn be? Would he be there at 22 for the Titans? And then you have another drop into the area of Campbell, Stokes, Newsome, et cetera, et cetera. So, but that's a great point by TD. You know, it takes discipline. There's no way it's easy, and GMs. No doubt at times like, look, we just have to have a receiver. We got to get the best one we can get right now. But usually you're better building a better team if you can stay disciplined and go by your best available guidelines.
Let's go back to our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Ron texts in and says, good morning, guys. I may have missed it, but did you guys say how much more cap space the Titans got after the TV deals? How much more money do we have to spend? Do you guys know? The TV deal is not kicking in until later on down the road. So you're not going to have any cap relief from that front this year. And even on the free agents that they brought in with Bud Dupree and, you know, even some of the restructures that maybe they've already done that we don't know about. We don't have a clear picture at this point of exactly what sort of cap room the Titans are dealing with.
The TV deal was never going to impact this year other than teams feeling good about deals that are structured to account for a bigger cap later, right? So no, it's not going to be an instant impact other than you already were projecting this to be big. The story we did today had $230 million by 2023 is sort of the expectation, which is a big jump. Now, Charles Robinson came on last week. I think did he say 2,000 or he said 250 by 5 years?
250 in 5 years.
250 in 5 years. And there's people like, are you sure it's going to be that low? I think that's probably pretty close to reality. I don't know that it's necessarily going to be wildly beyond that. But yeah, the TV deal's great. It's going to be great for the NFL. The NFL continues to dominate. It's
and they got the 17th game coming in too.
Oh,
just
thank
really
goodness.
Gonna be raking in that money.
So important to do that.
Get hyped.
Hey, buddy.
Hashtag get hyped.
That's right.
There's so many things this fall.
Yeah, there is. So we've gotten some conversation about this on our text line as well, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. A lot of Titans fans still wanting John Robinson to go out and sign a receiver, whether it's Juju Smith-Schuster, whether it's going out and getting T.Y. Hilton, bringing somebody in to add to the receiving room. Totally understand it. I would agree with it. I would like the Titans to go out and add to the receiving room as well, but we don't feel like that's going to happen in terms of some of the bigger name guys that are still out there. So if that's the case, and it's not going to be a bigger name guy that's still out there, how do you go about handling this if you're John Robinson and the Titans? And could you perhaps be in danger at that point at being too reliant on rookies coming in and helping you at wide receiver?
Yeah, I think, if it doesn't happen, so a couple things. I think that Nick Westbrook-Akine is a guy they like a lot. So I think that would be one of the reasons, is that I think they really like him. Of course, they have Cam Batson, they have A.J. Brown. It seems awfully light. Like, to me, it's still, don't you need to get one of the low-cost veterans who can, has done some things in this league. I'll keep saying the name Josh Reynolds. I think he's a decent player. But yeah, I'll be surprised if they really get into it here for Juju Smith-Schuster, for example, who would be my top choice of the remaining receivers. No, we talked about Marvin Jones. Thought that would have been great. I was a huge fan of Curtis Samuel, still am. I can't wait to see what he does moving forward. I think he's a dynamic player. Those guys are off the board. Juju is the only, to me, high-price guy. And I don't know how high price he would be, but he would be at the top of the board now, who I think that would be worth pursuing.
Yeah.
I'll be surprised if they do.
Vandy Ian on Twitch says, nice stash for Joe Rexrode. The Homie 77 says, Rexrode looks like he's training for the police academy. What do you think of that?
So is that like a mustache comment?
I guess so.
Okay.
He's left.
I'm left
puzzled. Speechless.
I'm puzzled. I don't know that I look like I'm training for anything.
Athlete, Joe Rexrode.
When's the last time you trained for anything?
Yeah.
Little chocolate donuts. The last time I trained for anything.
I thought you meant you last trained for Little Chocolate Donuts.
You guys don't get the
Nope.
Saturday Night Live Little Chocolate Donuts, John Belushi?
No.
Google it. YouTube. Some people on the text line, help me out here.
Yet another
Help me
reminder
out
of you
here
being
with
old.
What's that?
Yet another reminder of you being old.
Yeah. Help me out with the millennials, people. Help me. Last time I trained for something. That's funny.
We're talking
I've
decades?
I've never done like a marathon or anything like that.
No. Why would you?
Or a half marathon or a quarter marathon. So I hate running. So I used to like work out. I used to lift. I used to
Yeah, curls.
I used to have a six pack. I wish that I could go back to Instagram to the early '90s. I would blow
too.
Stillman off the map. Okay,
Right.
that was about 60 pounds ago.
Hey.
Is it that bad? No, but about that.
Okay, about that. When we come back.
So depressing. Thanks a lot, guys.
As much of a legend as Joe Rexrode is, he's got nothing on our next guest. Terry Crisp, Predators TV analyst, will join us. We'll get into the Preds' big win last night against Florida with him. That's next. This is Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ryan Porth here with you on this Friday morning, and it's that time of the week. We go to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in our good friend, Preds TV analyst, Terry Crisp. Crispy, what's going on, man? How we doing?
We're doing great, thank you, guys. My coffee, as we just said, I just put a little piece of a little dab of Sweet Victory in it.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm enjoying it.
Crispy, I've got to tell you, we've started streaming our show here so people can actually watch us now, which I know can be horrifying when you really think about it, having to see, Rexrode and my faces plastered around everywhere. But we've got a bobblehead here in the studio of you with a microphone in your hand sitting on top of 3 Stanley Cups, and it could be the greatest thing I've ever seen.
I got to tell you guys, I just was saying earlier, the worst thing that can happen to anybody, an athlete or whatever, is they make a bobblehead of you. That is the most embarrassing ever. And I was thinking when they're talking about doing this, I'd like to think of how many bobbleheads that they have made in the world actually look like the person who they're supposed to look like.
Yeah.
I'd like somebody to tell me if they really do on that one. But yeah, it's nice because the grandchildren and children really think it's something until they tear the head off it.
So you don't think this looks like you? I thought it was all.
It looks beautiful, Crispy.
In the neighborhood.
Oh, you guys, I know it. Yeah, sure. You knew the jacket because the jacket was on the All-Star thing when
That's right.
Fitzgill and I were mayors, and the gray hair. The rest, come on, guys. Come on. The gray hair was a giveaway.
That's right. Terry Crisp, Predators TV analyst, on the line with us, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. So, Crispy, 2 big wins in a row for the Predators when you're dealing with a lot of injuries and going up against 2 of the best teams in the league, in the Tampa Bay Lightning, and then last night a win against the Florida Panthers. What stood out to you in the last couple of games as to why the Predators have been able to be as successful as they've been, given the circumstances and all the injuries that they have?
A couple things have. First off, I'm going to go right to the heart of the matter. Pekarine's goaltending, and then Saros stepping back in last night after missing 7 games since March the 4th. And the game that he put up was unbelievable. So what has stood out to me is the goaltending we've had, that we weren't really getting the rewards that we deserved in the win column. And the youngsters that are playing in the way they're playing, the youngsters that we brought up from Chicago before with Milwaukee are playing, and how they're also making some of the other players that were here better players around them. That the energy that they bring and the enthusiasm they bring and the drive that they do each game out there is rubbing off on some of the guys that didn't seem to have the get up and go, the jump that they should have had. And that's what impresses me the most is the attitude. And we've heard the coaches and Coach Hines saying all along that we had to have consistency and commitment. And right now, that's what we're starting to see, a lot more consistency in our game. And we're seeing commitment from the guys. And I think the biggest area that the commitment's starting to come from is on the defensive end of it, helping our goaltenders out. Now, last night, Saros went back in. We allowed 41 shots with the best offensive team in the league, the deepest depth for offense. And the Florida Panthers, they're built from front to back in their team. And yet the guys somehow only allowed them 1 goal. That's the heartening part. That's the part that I like.
So we've been sleeping on Yarncroke, offensive wizard. Crispy, what are you seeing from him?
You know what? He's played his game all along. Yarny's one of those players that, and I don't know who initiated this thing. He's a Swiss Army player. That he can do all things. He can play wing, he can play center. They can use him on the power play. They can use him on the penalty kill. And he never changes. He just keeps working his game. But I guess a lot of things you forget when you're looking for guys to come to the front, like your guns, like for Phillip to start scoring again, and Duchesne to score, and Joey and Hardy, et cetera. You sometimes don't watch the other guys that are what they're doing and how they're performing and how they're holding us in there and how they're the glue. And Yarncroke was one of those guys. He just was steady Eddie. He just gets the job done, does it, no fanfare. Even when you interview him, he's almost embarrassed to say, I scored 2 goals or I got this. He just sort of shuns the credit off to somebody else. That's the type of player that he is.
Preds TV analyst Terry Crisp on the line with us, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. And Crispy, there's a line out there right now that every time they touch the ice, you're the first person I think of, because it's a line that I feel like you appreciate probably more than some of us do, some of the fans do, and that's Trenton, Sissons, and Olivier, and the physicality that they bring to the table and the north-south game that they bring to the table. What have you noticed from that group when they've been together?
I've noticed that they're the energy bunch. They're the ones that bring the whole thing together, started bringing it together. And I like when our girl Kara Hammer dubbed them the herd line with the yak and the bull and colt, Sissons.
It's pretty good.
That is good.
They played that way. They played that way. But you know what? They want to be here. Trenton and Olivier, they've been knocking on the door, and they felt they should be here. And then I think the light went off, or whatever happened, that how are they going to stay here? Just the same way they're playing. They go in direct lines. They go north and south. They go to the net. And now they're getting confidence. Sissons fit right in there like a hand in a glove with them as part of the physical part of it, and backing them up, because it's like two trains. He just turns them loose, and he sort of backs off and covers up, plays a little bit of defense in case they get caught deep or whatever. But they've got a nice chemistry. And you hear Coach Hines often say, well, they got to find chemistry among themselves, the defense pairs or whatever. And this unit, they just love to play. And they know if they keep playing, they're going to get the ice time. And I laughed the other day. We were doing our homework for our games, and they said, well, the fourth line is, I said, I don't know why we keep referring to them as the fourth line. Because to me, in my mind, as a coach, they're a whole hell of a lot better than a fourth line, I'll tell you.
So, Crispy, you've talked about, and we've talked about, young guys coming in and proving themselves, kind of knowing they have to play a certain way. The goaltending has been just exceptional. Do you think any of this uptick might have anything to do with just the fact that we, and I say we, as in Robby and me anyway, and a lot of fans and media have written this team off?
You know what? I don't think so. I think the guys, they have pride. They have feelings. And let me tell you this. Any athlete who tells you he doesn't read the papers or doesn't listen to the TV or the radio is fooling you. And he's fooling himself, because almost every athlete, and they all have, and I know this, feelings. And nobody wants to be demeaned, and nobody wants to be, well, we're paying him a lot of money, and he sure ain't with this kind of, and blah, and so forth. Yeah, that is a point of pride for a player, and makes him. But again, they got to take it from hearing it and then doing it on the ice or on the field or wherever they are, these guys. And right now, these kids up here that are playing, the youngsters, shouldn't call them kids or youngsters, they can see an opening. They can see that, hey, if they keep doing this, they're going to make Coach Hines and his staff job hard. I forget who asked last night, I think after the game, it might have been Vingan, Adam, about what happens when these other guys all get healthy. The guys that are all off now, you got 5 or 6 of our regulars off. What's going to happen? And that's a good question. That's a very good question he asked. And I was sitting there thinking, saying, yeah, that's a good question, because the bottom line is you win. You got to win. And we weren't winning the way things were going. Let's be honest about that. That's no secret. Suddenly, they've turned it around. And it's the chemistry has turned. Believing in the system has certainly turned. The guys have bought into it now and doing it. So it's going to be interesting when this all starts to unfold.
Preds TV analyst Terry Crisp has been our guest here on Robby and Rexrode. Crispy, great stuff, man. Appreciate you taking time to join us.
Hey, wait, Crispy, before you go, what's your Folgers Crystals? I mean, we got some fancy gourmet stuff. Like, what's your coffee?
You know what? I have Folgers, what I've used for years and years. And then the odd time I go to a brand, I don't even know what it's called. It's in a brown bag with a green label on it.
There you go.
And whatever the heck that one is. It's expensive, so I only get it once every year.
Oh, there you
go. Ooh, sounds fancy.
Very nice.
No, hey, are you kidding me?
That's right. Crispy.
Hey, listen, guys, I love it. And do me a favor, eh? take care of the poor little bobblehead.
We will.
You know, he's lonely.
We will guard it with our lives.
Don't
Terry
take him off
Crisp.
in the corner. Thanks, guys. Appreciate everything you guys do.
Absolutely. You as well. Crispy joins us every Friday here at 8:30. And if you're checking us out right now on Periscope, on Twitch, or on YouTube, a legendary bobblehead right at the center of our desk that Terry Crisp is a big fan of.
And it's Crispy, Scott Hartnell,
Jeff Fisher.
Jeff Fisher's there, Matt Duchesne, UC Saros with the Milwaukee Admirals, Thomas Vokoun, Eddie George,
Are you
Keith
gonna list
Bullock,
every bobblehead?
Kevin Dyson,
Sonny
and
Gray.
Cincinnati Reds,
Yes.
Vanderbilt, and Smyrna legend Sonny Gray.
Thank you. When we come
Would you
back,
like to go through that again?
we'll continue.
We have plenty of time.
The conversation.
I'll add more bobbleheads so we can talk about more names.
We'll take your thoughts on the Preds coming up next. 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025 on our phone and text lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. That's next. This is Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 1025 The Game.
Trying to pass the puck out front. It comes back to Yarncroke from the left side. That shot shanked down to the corner. Gronlund picks up in front for Yarncroke. He scores! Kelly Yarncroke again. The Predators out in front. 2-1. as Bobrovsky goes to the bench for the extra attacker. Puck stopped. Howlett toward the empty net and blocked there by Huberdeau. And the Predators have come away with a very unconventional win in Florida, where they now are 2-1 on the season.
All I do is win, no matter what. Got money on my mind.
Another big win last night for the Nashville Predators, 2-1 against the Florida Panthers. Now winners of 2 in a row against 2 very, very good teams in the NHL and in the Central Division. Welcome back in. Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game, taking you through this Friday morning here in Nashville, Tennessee. And, Joe, we were talking with Terry Crisp in the last segment about the 2 wins for the Predators this week against Tampa Bay and then last night against Florida. And the common theme in both has been, number one, outstanding goaltending play. I mean, Pekka Rinne was great on Monday against Tampa Bay. And then UC Saros back in last night, coming off of injury, plays really well. Makes 40 saves on 41 shots from Florida. Great goaltending right now. They're playing structurally well. I think on defense, you're not making big mistakes in front of your own net. And right now, even though the offense is not great for the Nashville Predators, they're scoring just enough. And that defensive game plan that they've had, I think this week they've executed really well.
I'd agree.
Thank you.
Good. I agree with what you said.
Thank you.
It is interesting. What Crispy brought up last segment. That was Vingen. Was he right? Was it Vingen?
Yeah.
Or Bingen? Asking about what happens when people get healthy. I mean, I think there's no question. Like Yossi gets healthy. Yeah,
he's probably going to play.
He'll probably get some ice time.
Yeah.
I guess. Ellis, but interesting kind of situation with the forwards and everything.
Yeah.
I guess when everyone is healthy at that point.
And
but again, I think maybe by that point there may be some easier choices because some people may not be here.
You know who's not coming out of the lineup? Calle Jarnkrok. The dude is on fire right now. 2 goals last night for Calle Jarnkrok after having a 4-point night against Tampa Bay on Monday. So 6 points in the last 2 games. I think 7 points in the last 3 games. Calle Jarnkrok on fire right now. And Joe Rexrode, the theory that you've thrown out that every time Calle Jarnkrok scores twice, the Predators win, it lives on after the game yesterday.
I mean, I'm not wrong, am I? If he scores twice, they're going to win.
Yeah.
It's only happened once where they haven't won.
Yeah. You'll take those odds.
Wait, that happened once this year?
No, not this year.
Yeah, ever.
Okay.
Ever.
Right. He's on fire. Again, 23.7%.
That's a heck of a
shot
shooting percentage.
That's not sustainable. But I had that thought last night. Like, what if they were committed to, like, Jarnkrok's going to be a top 6 wing? That's where he's playing, and we need to get him opportunities to score. Would he have a different career / offensive production total than he has?
Well, it's interesting to think about, and you know this just from being around the Red Wings. Back when the Predators made the trade for Calle Jarnkrok, that was the idea, was to bring him in, and he was going to be a part of the top 6 as they move forward. Now, the Predators were a much different-looking team at the time. That was back in 2013, and they were in transition at that point. Ryan Suter had just left in free agency, and they were selling some assets off. They got Jarnkrok that year. They got Philip Forsberg that year as well. So that was kind of the beginning of some of the core that's come in here since then. But that was the idea, was to bring Jarnkrok in and for him to potentially be a part of the top 6 as they move forward here. And basically, throughout his career with the Predators, you need a guy to fill in on the first line on the wing. Calle Jarnkrok can do it. You need a guy to center the 4th line. He can do it. He plays on the penalty kill. He's gotten some time on the power play as well. So look, in a perfect world, do I think that Calle Jarnkrok is a top 6 player? No, I don't. I think he's probably a pretty good third-line player in a perfect world, and I've been really impressed by what I've seen out of him so far this year. Obviously, you love the contract. I mean, he's getting paid $2 million a year. So he's costing virtually nothing.
Hey, you don't love it if you're him.
Right. You don't love it if you're him, but he signed it.
Right. I mean, that's the thing. Like, has his versatility cost him money?
Maybe.
Maybe it's good. Maybe it's better to sometimes just be like, this is what I do. Take it or leave it. But, yeah, I mean, he's been moved all over the place, and that was all the thing, when the Golden Knights were coming up on there. How could you possibly protect Yarncroke and not the kneeler, right?
Yeah.
And it was, 1, the contract, and 2, the guy does so many things well. Does anyone still have a problem with that?
I don't think people are having much of a problem with James Neal not being on the team
right. I mean,
now the next year he was great.
He was.
And maybe the next year he's the difference in the Winnipeg series. I don't think that's crazy. I think he could have been the difference.
So, in other words, you do still have a problem with it then?
No.
I think we've hit a nerve here.
No. I don't know if he's the difference in the Winnipeg series.
Did you watch James Neal that year?
Did you watch Pecorini in Game 7 give up 2 softies and get pulled?
You may not get to Game 7 if James Neal's on your team.
Maybe
he absolutely could have been the
difference. Yeah, but in their
series.
losses, they got smoked.
Maybe James Neal's like Tom Brady, and it's like no way Kevin Byard plays like this last year.
Well,
with
James
Tom Brady
Neal
on
is
his
exactly
team.
the type of player that they were missing in the Winnipeg series. Like, to a T.
I would agree with you if they lost like 1 or 2 games that were like really close or in overtime. But the 4 losses, they got smoked.
Well, but the Game 3, they totally botched that one at Winnipeg.
Yeah, they got smoked in the last.
What were they up 3-0?
30 minutes of that game. Yeah,
right. It's interesting.
I mean, we'll never know, but I just think it's interesting. Now, since then, it's been a pretty clear career path for James Neal. It's gone steeply downhill. I mean, a dramatic drop-off. So, all
that
those
steep
Predators
has been
fans,
the real deal.
Yeah, I mean, all those Predators fans that were upset that you didn't sign him to a long-term contract probably dodged a bullet on that front.
And by the way, Yarncroke is on a pace, if it was a full year, for about 30, low 30s goal output this year.
You'll take it.
How about that?
You'll take it.
He's a 30-goal scorer.
That's right. Let's go to our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Got a texture that says, remember first-line winger Yarncroke in 15-16. I remember. I do remember that. First-line winger.
How much of that year?
It wasn't a whole lot.
Yeah.
There was a lot of, I think that was still Ribeiro at the start of it, and it wasn't going well, and you found Johansson in early 16 of that year. So, yeah.
That's when I moved here during the playoffs.
Right.
And I don't remember Yarncroke having that kind of a spot at that point.
But there were times, yeah. Power play time, first line on the wing. Like I said, they played him pretty much everywhere at this point.
He does it all. He's worth more than he makes. I mean, talk about a lot of the guys on this roster. Just like Crispy was saying, you make $8 million, you make $8 million, on and on. Here's a guy who is more than earning his money on the team.
Gover on Twitter says, careful, Robby, he'll block you on Twitter. James Neal was known to do that a time or two.
Oh, is that right? He's a Twitter blocker?
He's not really a blocker.
Is
he was
Deion Lewis level?
No, he's no. He's not Deion Lewis level. He was more of a name searcher on the Twitter.
That's right. I remember this story now. Yeah.
He's more of a name searcher.
He was all mad at you for a while.
Yeah, I said he took a bad penalty on, I think it was like a Minnesota game. He was mad at me for a little bit, but we worked it out. It was all good.
Were you right?
Yeah, I got a 5-minute penalty on it. I think he got kicked out of the game.
So you're not allowed to say that?
Yeah, apparently not. So It was interesting. I had a conversation. It was about Calle Yarncroke, now that I think about it. 2 months later, he was on a line with Calle Yarncroke, and I think they had 3 goals as a line or something together that night. And I asked him about Calle Yarncroke, and he was still mad at me about the penalty. So that's when we worked it out at that point. But yeah, sometimes that happens with athletes.
Well,
no one's a blocker like Deion Lewis. Deion Lewis blocked me on Twitter. I've never even spoken to Deion Lewis in my life.
That's wild.
But you probably had a sarcastic tweet about him during a game, and he probably searched his name, saw it, and then said, "Screw you, Rob Stanley."
Well, we found out towards the end of last year, Deion Lewis had blocked half of Nashville on Twitter.
Now I can't find. I think I got blocked. I wonder if I got blocked because I did this thing where I went to the bar with Brennan. It's a really great idea for a piece, and I quoted him in the piece saying Deion Lewis is trash. Now I scolded him and I said no one in the NFL is trash.
Right.
So stop saying everybody's trash.
That's the thing now with kids.
Yeah. Everything's trash. Everything's toxic.
So you're now blocked by Deion Lewis as well.
I think so, but I can't even find him on the.
That means you're blocked.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. That's what it means if you can't search somebody?
Yeah.
Oh, I guess I'm blocked by James Neal, too. All right. And like Crispy said last segment, this whole I don't read it, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, people read.
Yeah. Put yourself in those shoes, You're not.
I'd read.
If people are ripping you all the time for every decision you make in your job, you're not going to be conscious of what people are saying about you?
Sure. I think it's just human nature at that point. Now, I think there are some athletes that read everything and probably spend too much time doing that stuff. And I do think there are some athletes that are aware of it, but they legitimately don't care. They're like, okay, whatever. People are just saying stuff. So it's always interesting to see kind of how people go about handling that. But absolutely, I think Crispy was dead on. A lot of noise out there in today's world on social media and on the internet. So hard to stay away from some of that. When we come back, we will switch gears and get into the NCAA tournament. Tennessee taking on Oregon State today. How big is this tournament for Rick Barnes? We'll discuss it next. This is Robby and Rexrode live from the wholesaling studio powered by RumbleOn.com. You're on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Welcome back in. Final hour of Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ryan Porth here with you on this Friday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. Also streaming live on Periscope and on YouTube and on Twitch as well at 102.5 The Game on these platforms. Loving it. You can catch us every day here on the show, both on the radio, at the Game Nashville app, and streaming live on Periscope, Twitch, and on YouTube. So lots of options to hear Robby and Rexrode or see Robby and Rexrode.
I got this. Still not natural for me to switch the microphone like this, but I want.
But there's a much better view of your face now, and I think you're doing our audience a great service.
Yeah, I think it would be a real shame for people not to be able to see as much of me as possible.
I would agree.
A lot of me to see.
A lot of you to see. Wow. Geez, little self-deprecating humor there. I like it.
This sweatshirt is the most comfortable sweatshirt I've ever had. It's like being ensconced in velvet.
There you go. Vandy Ian on Twitch says Stillman versus Rexrode live on Twitch. You want like a cage match?
In what?
Yeah, I don't know. Wrestling match?
In anything that involves any sort of physical activity. and how much younger than me is Jared?
Oh, at least 17 to 18 years.
I will destroy him. I'm looking right at you,
Looked
camera.
right at the camera.
I hope you're looking at me, Jared. Destroy you.
There you go. We'll see if we can make that happen here on the program. Maybe here in the studio sometime in the future.
Whatever he wants.
That's right.
Play some Old Maid. We could play some Uno.
Yeah. Now we're talking. Taking your thoughts all show long on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Talking college hoops right now. The NCAA tournament underway officially last night. The first full day today on the NCAA tournament, and Tennessee playing against Oregon State. We'll get to our picks a little bit later, coming up this hour in Weekend Winners at 9:30. But, John, I want to ask you a question that I brought up earlier this week with Josh Ward. And I'm not asking it in terms of, is there any pressure on Rick Barnes in terms of him losing his job with the Tennessee basketball club? I mean, that's just not going to happen. He's done a really good job since he's been the head coach at Tennessee. As we've talked about before, I know there are some Tennessee fans that are unhappy with Rick Barnes. I think those Tennessee fans lack perspective on what this job is and what it's been throughout the history of the program here in Tennessee men's basketball. But I ask it from this vantage point. There's a narrative on Rick Barnes, and it's been there for a long time, ever since he was at Texas, that you've had some really talented teams that underachieve in the NCAA tournament and don't win to the level that they're expected to win or choke away games in the NCAA tournament. And that's been something that continues to be associated with Rick Barnes' coach teams. And we've talked about this team a lot here on the show this year, and especially thinking back to the beginning of the season, you and I both thought, I mean, maybe a Final Four quality team in terms of the talent that they have, the depth that we thought they had at that point as well, and just the state of the two freshmen coming in as well. So through that lens, as you view the season that they've had and the narrative that surrounds Rick Barnes, how important is this tournament with this team for him and his legacy as he continues to move forward here?
Well, I think listen, if they don't get out of this weekend, a lot of what you just said is going to be talked about a lot. There's no getting around that, okay? So it is important. And in the defense of Tennessee, look, I agree with you. People, you have to have perspective. This program's never been to a Final Four. It's been to one Elite Eight. Game I covered, by the way. A loss to Michigan State that easily could have been a win in 2010 for Bruce Pearl. And he had a heck of a run. And that's part of the problem for Rick Barnes, too, I think, is Bruce Pearl. Because Bruce Pearl kicks his butt whenever they play, it seems like. And Bruce Pearl, I would say, when he had it rolling here, really had it rolling here, even just like the style of play, all that stuff, personnel. I mean, Bruce Pearl, I think most Tennessee fans still love Bruce Pearl. I would still tell the Tennessee fans, yeah, I think you're better off. Like, you should feel better about your program.
The first thing they'll say, though, is the head-to-head record between Bruce Pearl and Rick Barnes.
No, I get it. And another thing, and I was going to say this in defense of, like, Vols fans who are getting antsy, you look at, like, a Nate Oates.
Right.
And, of course, you're like, oh, man, what? Because, look, I don't think that Rick Barnes has a ton of years left as the head coach. So I understand some of that. He's 66 years old. I don't know. I don't know how long he wants to coach. I mean, Coach K's going strong in his 70s right now. Who knows? But listen, Rick Barnes has, I think everything he's done has been Hall of Fame coach. Absolutely. You go back to Providence and what he did there. He took over for Rick Pitino at Providence. He did really good things in a short time at Clemson and then, of course, Texas. But other than that Sweet 16, with that great team that I thought could have won it all 2 years ago, that he built in the face of a lot of people saying these players aren't good enough, and turned out pros and a championship team. But other than that, he's been past the first weekend. He has not been past the first weekend since 2008.
Yeah.
Okay? And this is, again, a lot of what happened for him at Texas. Those last few years, he still had a lot of talent, and he had some really good teams, a 28-win team, a couple 24-win teams, NBA guys, and not getting out of the first weekend. And that ultimately became too much for the people at Texas, even though what he did with that program overall was fantastic. So I think he's an incredible program builder. I think he's an elite developer of players. He now at Tennessee has parlayed the development of these guys, the Grant Williamses and the Admiral Schofields and Jordan Bones, into recruiting at a high level, higher level than Tennessee's ever really recruited at this last class. But that's the knock. It's right now, and I do think it would do much to help him to get to the second weekend, and it will do much to increase the complaining and grumbling if he doesn't.
Well, and not even just with the NCAA tournament. I mean, let's not forget what the expectations were for this group heading into the season. It was to win the SEC regular season championship. It was to win the SEC basketball tournament, and neither one of those things got accomplished. So there are some Tennessee fans out there that say even with a team like this and the tournament hasn't started yet, you've already underachieved with this group and the roster that you have, and they hold that against Rick Barnes and add that, I guess, to the pile of further evidence that when the expectations get high and when things are going well, at least from a recruiting standpoint and a talent standpoint, that Tennessee and Rick Barnes just choke. And again, I don't know if that's fair or not from a regular season point of view. I certainly understand the conversation around that in the NCAA tournament. But there will be Tennessee fans that, regardless of how this tournament goes, short of a run to the Elite Eight or the Final Four or something like that, view this team as a disappointment because they did not accomplish winning the SEC regular season championship or the SEC tournament championship as well.
Yeah. Now, when you talk about regular season championships, I think Duke hasn't won one in like more than a decade,
right,
for example. I mean, but that's a championship. It's cutting the nets. It's a banner. And, of course, that team in 17-18 did win the SEC, first time in a long time for Tennessee. And the next year, I mean, that's a 31-6 team, a 15-3 in the league. They played LSU the one time on the road, but that was a controversial game, all that stuff. But I agree. Like, it's kind of the reverse. 17-18, of course, they were picked like last by the SEC media, which is still embarrassing for all of you who did that. It was not me. In fact,
I know.
I got Tennessee in video of telling Adam Sparks at SEC media, like, Tennessee's way better than this. What are people talking about? So I got receipts on that one. But this year is like the flip of that.
That's right. For people hammering Rexrode's college basketball takes, take that.
Yeah, exactly. You just have to go back 5 years to find something decent. But Tennessee this year, like you said, clear favorite, and you saw them earlier. You're like, oh, this team could be special. I thought so. And then they go in and just a lot of bad nights in the league. 10-7. Forget that they didn't win the championship. Going 10-7 in this league this year, that's a disappointment. There's just no way around it.
And in fairness, nobody saw, to the degree in which it's happened, the level of Alabama being what it is. Like, everybody knew Nate Oates is a good coach, and Alabama could be good. Nobody expected Alabama to be this good.
Well, and that's the funny thing, too, as you go through a season and how you think of things at the time and how you think of things later. That lost to Alabama now, it's like, man, they almost beat Alabama. At the time, it was like, you lost at home to Alabama, right? Yeah. So then you beat Arkansas the next game.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem like that big of a deal. Okay, well, get your crap together, right? Well, those are the best two teams in the league. But I still think that this team, and we saw it for so much of the Alabama game, I still think that the talent level of this team is better than anybody in the SEC. I do. I think Alabama has more pieces that fit well, and they play better together and all that stuff. And sometimes you can't quite get a roster to fit together. But I just think Tennessee, because of the freshmen, has all kinds of potential still in this tournament. And it would be big. Because another thing with Rick Barnes that we haven't talked about, but when the flirtation happened with UCLA,
Yep.
and he comes away basically making $5 million a year now. $5 million a year is elite coach salary. It's not really good coach, maybe a tier below the elite guys. It's elite coach salary. So I thought from that moment the discussion around him, scrutiny around him is still going to get stronger, even though he had just engineered maybe the greatest season in Tennessee history.
We'll continue this conversation on the other side and take your thoughts on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. How much pressure is on Rick Barnes and Tennessee as they begin tournament play today against Oregon State? We'll talk about that next. And hey, right now, 102.5 The Game and T-Mobile have teamed up to help you continue the tradition with a hockey home gating party, and it's time to text into the game line at 615-737-1025 for your chance to win the T-Mobile Hockey Home Gate. You can watch a weekend Preds game with a Dos Equis prize pack, which includes a case of beer, dessert from Nothing But Cakes, a T-Mobile prize pack, and food provided by 312 Pizza Company in Germantown. Just text the word hockey to 615-737-1025. That's hockey to 615-737-1025 now to enter. The winner will be contacted on Thursday, and you must be 21 or older to enter. We'll be right back. Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. The Game Bracket Challenge is back. Sign up and play now for your chance to win great prizes. Now that all the teams have been selected, go to thegamenashville.com and fill out your bracket to compete for a chance to win those great prizes. The Game Bracket Challenge is brought to you by Volunteer Hose and Gasket, Cool Springs Wine and Spirits, European Collision Repair, and Coach's Corner Sports Grill. And you still got some time to get those filled out. So make sure you go to thegamenashville.com and get those done.
And you can see how you do against us and the rest of the 1025 The Game personalities.
You can. I feel good about my bracket.
Brennan filled one out for that, too. So if you can crush my 13-year-old son.
So does he now have UCLA winning the national championship?
I haven't looked at his bracket. Gosh, I wonder if he did have my daughter.
Michigan making a
I had to help Caroline fill out her bracket last night. She couldn't figure it out, and it was before the Michigan State game, and she has them either winning it all or getting to the championship game. And I'm like, Caroline, they might lose tonight. It's like, no, I pick MSU over you. All right.
Hey.
Hey.
I like the commitment.
So now she's riding UCLA. She's got UCLA.
Yeah.
You know?
Whereas Porth calls it UCLA.
UCLA. Yeah.
Literally how it's spelled.
It is how it's spelled. I can't argue with you there. Speaking of UCLA, Rick Barnes almost ended up at UCLA, and that's the question we're asking right now. How much pressure is on Rick Barnes and Tennessee as they play in the tournament today, taking on Oregon State today? We'll have our picks for that game coming up in the next segment of Weekend Winners. And, Joe, we've talked about kind of the history of Rick Barnes in the NCAA tournament and the underachieving that has taken place in terms of some of the talented teams that he's had. I mean, and the one I think everybody points to is the team with Kevin Durant, how that didn't make a deeper run in the NCAA tournament than it did. That's a big one people point to. Obviously, he's had a ton of talent at Texas. Even the Tennessee team a couple of years ago with Schofield and Grant Williams and all the talent they had on that team. A great game in the NCAA tournament, just a heartbreaking loss for the Vols. It feels like there's been a lot of teams that you just are left wanting more with Rick Barnes. And this is an interesting one because I agree with you. I think the talent level on this Tennessee basketball team, it may be higher than the Schofield team, and it certainly, I think, is the best in the SEC. And they've underachieved from that part of it this year. But if you can get hot, you can get rolling, they could absolutely be a team that athletically, I think, matches up with just about anybody in the country.
Yeah, now listen. You want to talk talent level? Well, Kentucky has a massive talent level, too. They have a bunch of guys who go in the NBA. They're not even close to the NCAA tournament. That's the problem. So, I don't think this team's even close to 2 years ago. If you're going strictly by you're going to have two guys who might go in the top 15, yes. But that's the problem with freshmen. And that team, that's why, so let's take it here locally to Jerry Stackhouse and other coaches. And look, Rick Barnes likes this, too, that all coaches do to a point. This is why you need, quote-unquote, to get old.
Yep.
With your teams, and you need guys who are good college players who aren't guaranteed to leave after a year. I mean, it's not that you stop recruiting the Keon Johnsons of the world, not at all, but the problem with this team is they don't have quite the right mix, or they haven't shown it enough. So maybe purely talent level, yes. And again, Yves Pons now is a senior who does a lot more than he did on those teams, and I think he's going to be in the NBA. I think he may be a G League / NBA guy, but someone's going to want Yves Pons on their roster. But that team from 2 years ago was a much better team.
Well, they're mature.
Yeah, and I think one huge difference, and now you look to next year with Tennessee, they had the point guard who can get wherever he wants on the floor and set people up. And Jordan Bowen will forever be the most underrated part of that team. And so next year, probably maybe for 1 year, but next year they're going to have that guy again. They haven't had him since then. That's a huge part of this. So real quick, hot take update. Stillman on Twitter has the Vols losing
to Oregon State.
Oregon State today. He also, when someone challenged him and said, well, talent and coaching will win, he said Wayne Tinkle is a way better coach than Rick Barnes.
Wow.
So
not a big fan of Rick Barnes.
That's a hot take.
I don't think the Oregon State winning is that big of a hot take. It could happen with this Tennessee team.
Wayne Tinkle as a way better coach than Rick Barnes is the hot take.
Yeah.
So with Barnes, what I've tried to figure out, and I've tried to look at this some, is can we point to things like trends or certain things that have happened or haven't happened for him in all these NCAA exits. And I've never really found that.
No.
I think sometimes there's some late game stuff. I thought he had some late game bad moments against Alabama the other day. But think back to the Purdue game 2 years ago. I can't think of a coaching. I was sitting right there, courts. I can't think of anything in that game. Ryan Klein was hitting 28-footers with guys' hands in his face.
Yeah.
And at the end, you contest the three in the corner. I think he nudged him. You could have gone either way with the call. I can't look at that game and say, man, coaching. Other than, I guess, you didn't play as well early. They did get smacked in the face early. They had to charge back to get back in the game. So that's the thing too. Is what is there a certain weakness or something like a blind spot for Rick Barnes as a coach in these NCAA tournaments? I don't have one. I haven't seen anybody else come up with one. Ultimately, though, you gotta win more. In 24 and 24, he should have a better record than that.
Yeah.
In this event.
Well, and the other part of this is just the event itself, right? It's so unpredictable, and that's part of what makes it great. Sam on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, says there's no guarantees in the tournament. People point to Katie and Barnes, but Coach K couldn't win with Zion, RJ, and Reddish. It's not like Rick Barnes is the only coach that's had some really talented teams not do well in the NCAA tournament.
It's funny. I thought when you said Coach K, I thought he said Coach Katie, which is actually a great thing to bring up.
Yeah.
Gene Katie, he's one of the greatest coaches ever, okay? The dude never went to the Final Four. He had Purdue teams competing year after year for Big Ten championships. He had pros. He had a lot of great veteran teams, defense, just a tremendous Hall of Fame basketball coach, never went to the Final Four. That happens. Some coaches are just have a knack. That's the thing with Rick Barnes. Yes, on a given year, like the Durant team, it's 1 year with Kevin Durant. They went 25-10, second round loss, close game. That's going to happen. You would hope over the years you would have more that go your way.
Right.
Again, Tom Izzo, who's a big topic of discussion today. And he's been, a great all-around coach, but especially in the tournament. His tournament is better than his overall performance.
Right.
And in Barnes' case, Barnes' overall performance
it's pretty good.
Right there with a Tom Izzo or coach like that, but the huge difference is obviously tournament performance. Why do some coaches, is it how you prepare? Is it how you get information to your players in a short period of time? Don't overload them, but give them enough for the scouting report. There's a lot of different ways coaches do things. And I'm sure Rick Barnes has tried a variety of things over the years.
Let's revisit our poll question of the day at 1025 The Game on Twitter. And today's question is this. What would you consider to be a success for Tennessee's NCAA tournament appearance starting today? Would it be one win? Would it be a trip to the Sweet 16, the Elite 8, or the Final Four? Right now, 47% say the Sweet 16 would be considered a success. 26% say the Elite 8, 18% say one win, and only 9% say the Final Four would be considered the bar of success.
Yeah. the Final Four would be wildly successful, historic run. So I don't expect it to be there. I do think that there were – look, I was there talking about – we were talking about it. Final Four is a possibility.
If you would ask me this question in December and Sweet 16 was winning the poll, I'd be surprised.
Yeah.
I would say at least Elite 8.
See, I would say, just looking at the bracket now, Sweet 16 and give Illinois a fight, I think you can feel good about that.
Yeah.
If you're a Tennessee fan. It's a big deal, when you talk about just program visibility and recruiting everything to get to this next weekend. You take out, it used to be 48, so what, 52 teams?
Yep.
You take 52 teams away, and there's 16 left, and that is a big program week for you if you make it to that next round. That from that perspective, and I think these guys have got it rolling now on the recruiting trail and all that, but it's never not important.
When we come back, it's that time of the week, time for weekend winners here on Robby and Rexrode. We got some games to pick, Tennessee and Oregon State. A couple of Preds games coming up this weekend as well. And taking your thoughts on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. We'll do that next. This is Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 1025 The Game.
Time to pick some winners. We hope. Robby and Rexrode have weekend winners for you now
On ESPN.
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
And it is that time of the week. Time for weekend winners here on Robby and Rexrode. Of course, you could watch live today via Periscope, YouTube, and Twitch here on the program. We've got some good winners to pick for you today. But first, Joe Rexrode, you've got a word.
Well, we just had talking with TD. I just wanted to mention real quick, per TD, Western Michigan wide receiver Dwayne Eskridge, Clemson wide receiver Cornell Powell, and UCLA wide receiver / running back Demetric Felton will be on Talking with TD this week.
So lots of
players of
love.
interest.
Absolutely.
Receivers are of high interest.
Make sure you check that out on Talking with TD. Joe Rexrode, weekend winners. Let's recap how we did last week. What did the standings look like in our competition?
Well, you had a big week.
Yes, I did.
5-1, got your lock, 6 points.
Yeah, buddy.
You are back in this thing.
Come on.
Porth and I both went 3-3, got our locks, so 4 points. So at this point, I mean, it's just a one away and one away, except for the lock. So I'm 11-7, 14 points, and in the opposite of football season, I'm 3-0 my locks. Porth 10-8, 11 points, 1-2. Robby 9-9, 10 points, 1-2. So it's good.
Tightening up.
It is. Yeah, it's right there.
So let's start with today's matchup between Tennessee and Oregon State. Tennessee favored in this game by 8.5. Ryan Porth, we begin with you. Tennessee and Oregon State. Tennessee minus 8.5.
Give me the Vols. I'm taking the Vols minus the 8.5. I think they win this by double digits. Pull away in the second half. They've been a streaky team from half to half, and they have a big second half to pull away.
They have been a streaky team. I will also take the Vols minus the 8.5. I think they win by probably 9. So the 8.5 makes it very interesting in this game. I'm very tempted to take Oregon State, not to win, but to cover in this game, because if you've watched Tennessee athletics, they make things a whole lot more difficult than they probably need to be on a regular basis. But I'm going to go the other way and select the Vols in this competition. Joe Rexrode, Tennessee minus 8.5 favored today against Oregon State.
Yeah, I'm the same way with really being tempted to take Oregon State just to keep it close, and it's the NCAA tournament, anything can happen. But I'm gonna go ahead and give the 8.5 and take the Vols too. I think hit some free throws down the stretch, cover the spread.
So that is our pick for Tennessee and Oregon State. Nobody picking Oregon State to upset the Vols today, apparently.
No.
Except Jared.
Other than Jared. He's not a part of this competition.
Wayne Tinkle's #1 fan,
right.
Jared Stillman.
That's right. Moving ahead, the Predators taking on the Florida Panthers tomorrow, still on the road. I'll start on this one. The Predators have gotten 2 big wins in a row. Kylie Yarncroke on a hot streak right now. I think Florida finds a way to get it done tomorrow. Give me the Panthers and make it my lock. I've got the Panthers winning tomorrow. That is my lock of the week. Ryan Porth, the Predators going for 3 in a row tomorrow against the Florida Panthers. Who you got in this game?
I'm going with the Florida Panthers as well. I think they earn the split.
Great analysis.
I'll have less analysis than that. So I'll go with the Panthers. Groupthink going on big time. We need to start separating from each other.
We've got the same picks on every pick so far. The Predators taking on the Dallas Stars on Sunday. Joe Rexrode, Preds or Stars? Who you got?
Give me the Preds.
Ooh.
I'm going to go Preds, and I do think some of what we were talking about earlier with a little nastiness, a little anger toward the Stars. I think, and I like the way the Preds are playing and goaltending right now, so I think they get a weekend split.
Ryan Porth, the Predators taking on the Stars coming up on Sunday. Who you got in this competition?
Every single thing that Joe Rexrode just said.
Okay, so
including taking the Preds Sunday night. I think they start the road trip with a win in Dallas, and they end the road trip with a win in Dallas.
You going to make it your lock? You're saving that?
I'm saving my lock.
Okay, I was just checking.
Come
Both
on.
already predicting a fight in that game.
Yeah, I like it.
I'm tempted to go Stars just to be different, but I'm not. I'm going Preds.
My gosh, we have all the exact same
Well,
picks.
we're about to deviate here in just a second, so it's okay. We're usually pretty different in this competition. You can't just pick different for the sake of picking different. That's how I got down in this competition. So now I'm taking the Preds as well. So we're all the same through the first 3 rounds of the competition here today on Weekend Winners. Now we go our own way. 3 picks on our own. Take it any way you want to take it. The NCAA tournament, NHL, NBA, everything on the table. Ryan Porth, let's begin with you. Your first independent pick is what?
I'm going to start with the NHL.
Okay.
I'm going back to the well, even though Carolina let me down last night in a big, big way. I'm going with the Hurricanes minus the 1.5 at home against Columbus.
Okay. So
that game is tomorrow night.
All right. So taking place tomorrow night. Porth confident in a rebound performance by the Carolina Hurricanes.
That's going to be a 5-2 win for Carolina.
Ooh, even throwing the score out there as well. I like that. Joe Rexrode, your
Noted.
first independent pick is what?
Well, I'm going all NCAA tournament, and I'm going all today because there's such a buffet of basketball. We don't even need to look beyond today.
Okay.
One interesting 8-9 game here, which, of course, could lead to a really interesting second-round game for Illinois. But Georgia Tech, Loyola Chicago. Loyola is minus 5.5. Georgia Tech is not going to have star big man Moses Wright. Even if they did, I'd take Loyola in a close game. I like Loyola to win comfortably. Make it Loyola minus 5.5 and make it my lock.
Ooh.
Guarantee.
That spread moved from 2 to 5.5 quickly when that news came out.
Joe Rexrode with some deep appreciation for Sister Jean. Lots of confidence in
101.
Chicago. Absolutely. Still going strong. Give me Colgate plus 8.5.
The toothpaste.
Against Arkansas. Now, Arkansas, full disclosure, is a pick of mine to go to the Final Four. So I like Arkansas. I think this game is going to be very high scoring. I like Colgate to keep it close. In a dramatic game, Arkansas pulls it out at the end, but give me Colgate plus the 8.5.
So you're not going with Crest?
No. No
Okay.
Crest, just Colgate.
I think you already made that.
Yeah,
joke.
I think he just did it 3 times in one segment.
How about an AIM? How about an AIM joke?
That's right. Joe Rexrode.
That's an underrated toothpaste.
It is. Joe Rexrode, your next independent pick is what?
So North Carolina, Wisconsin. I'm liking these. I guess I'm liking these 8-9 games. I'm going to go against the Big Ten here. I just don't like how Wisconsin has been playing. They do have a veteran team. They are a team that, quote, got old. But they were very underwhelming the last few weeks of the season. And I like North Carolina's trend right now. Give me North Carolina minus 1.5. I think they win a pretty close game, but I think they will handle this game.
I like it. That was on the board for me. I'm not going to go that route, but that was on the board. I've got confidence in North Carolina in that game as well. Give me Oklahoma State minus the 7 against Liberty. I think Cade Cunningham is en route for a special tournament. I think Liberty, even though they're going to try to play that defensive style and screw things up offensively for Oklahoma State, they're not going to be able to do it. Oklahoma State pulls away late. Give me Oklahoma State minus the 7 against Liberty. Ryan Porth.
So I forget if this is today or tomorrow, but first round game between Ohio and Virginia. You already know from Call Your Shot Friday that Ohio upsetting Virginia was my upset special. I'm making it my lock that they covered the 7-point spread.
How popular of a pick do you think that is around the country?
I mean, the spread started at like 9 and it's now at 7. So people have been
liking
hammering
Ohio.
So money's going to the Bobcats.
I like it.
And Virginia's got they've had issues, so I like it too.
I will begin the final round of the independent picks here on this edition of Weekend Winners. Give me my beloved Miami Heat minus the 4.5 tonight against the Indiana Pacers. The Miami Heat right now, the hottest team in the league in the NBA, playing very well. Jimmy Butler.
So the Heat are hot.
The Heat are hot. Bam Adebayo coming back in as well. Heat 4.5-point favorites against the Pacers. Give me the Miami Heat. Had to throw a little NBA action in there for you. Joe Rexrode, your next pick, or your final pick.
Well, I disrespected the Big Ten with my last pick, but I'm going to go ahead and give the Big Ten a nod here. Purdue, I like how they've been playing. North Texas, kind of a surprise team out of CUSA here, getting 7. I think Purdue handles that spread. Give me Purdue minus 7 against North Texas.
So some love for the Big Ten there from Joe Rexrode. Ryan Porth, the final selection of this edition of Weekend Winners. What do you have?
I've got Gonzaga money line. No, I'm kidding.
Yes.
All right, but I am going with a money line pick and not a spread pick in the tournament.
Is that allowed?
If the spread is available, that's not allowed. But
UCLA with the upset money line against BYU.
Okay, I'll allow that.
If it's an upset, then the money line just fine.
That's fine. I'll allow that.
We'll allow it?
Yeah.
The Fighting
allow
Mick Cronin's. There's typically one of the teams from the first four that then make an upset in the first round. I think UCLA is that team this year.
Mick Cronin
Lots
totally
of love
out
for Mick Cronin.
He outcoached Izzo in the second half last night. There was no doubt.
Do you miss Mick
Good
Cronin?
coach.
Yes, I do.
Yes,
and if anybody read what came out in The Athletic yesterday about John Brandon at Cincinnati, I definitely miss Mick
I
Cronin.
imagine you do.
Mutiny in Cincinnati.
Mutiny. It's a mutiny. That does it for this edition of Weekend Winners. Good luck. Hope everybody listening takes our advice to heart.
You are not wishing us good luck.
No.
You're wishing the listeners good luck.
Correct.
But not me and Joe.
Wish me good luck, though, because I've already let people down
You
this
have.
week.
Your reputation is at stake here.
Yeah, I don't want people like physically angry at
That's
me,
right.
you know?
I am taking the under of Arkansas Colgate.
It probably should. That's probably
a good
piece of
move.
advice at this point. When we come back, it's time for Free Beer Friday. We'll have that trivia question coming up for you next. But right now, I got to tell you about my friends at FanDuel. And speaking of the tourney, there's always that one team that ruins your bracket. And that's why this year I'm betting the tourney on FanDuel Sportsbook, America's #1 sportsbook. Because on FanDuel, your first bet is risk-free. And it doesn't matter if you're betting on Tennessee or on Oregon State. New users get up to $1,000 in site credit back if your first bet doesn't win. FanDuel's got odds on all the action with games day and night, an easy-to-use app, multiple deposits and fast withdrawals, and always-on promotions. Your next chance to win with FanDuel is always only minutes away. And if that's not enough, FanDuel wants to make you a millionaire. They're giving away $1 million to one lucky bettor, and new and existing users can get an additional shot at the payout every single day that you bet on the tourney. So if you want a shot at becoming a millionaire or even a thousandaire, download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Just use promo code ROB so they know that I sent you. That's FanDuel Sportsbook, promo code ROB. Must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. No purchase necessary. Restrictions apply for $1 million drawing. Risk-free offer for first real online money wager only. Site credit is not withdrawable and expires 14 days after receipt. Terms apply. See sportsbook.fanduel.com for details. And for problem gambling support, call 1-800-889-9789.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 Code Red meteorologist Dan Guthrie. Not going to warm up a whole lot for ourselves today. This afternoon, topping out mid-50s with breezy conditions out of the north, but we will be sunny by the end of the day. Sunshine and 60s this weekend.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Imagine yourself in a new Toyota with great deals on the adventurous RAV4. Now through March 31st, get $1,250 customer cash on a gas-powered 21 RAV4. Or lease a new RAV4 LE for $189 a month for 36 months with $29.99 due at signing. With approved credit through TFS, tax, title, and license extra. That's just $189 a month for a new RAV4. Call 1-888-36-TOYOTA for details or go to buyatoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places.
At Founders Brewing, we asked ourselves, what if we brewed a beer perfect for any occasion? A beer that makes a weekday feel more like the weekend, and the weekend feel more like an adventure. What if we celebrated taste and flavor?
Ah, yes, that time of the week here on Robby and Rexrode. Time for Free Beer Friday. And the good thing about streaming now on Periscope and on YouTube and on Twitch is every time Ryan Porth plays a country song, you can see Joe Rexrode's disgust visibly on the camera.
I don't think that was discussed.
No, you handled that one pretty well. You think you're not handling this microphone very well right
Trying
now.
to get this.
There you go.
That wasn't disgust on my face.
Okay.
I was kind of waving my head back and forth awkwardly.
Joe Rexrode.
Like Elaine Bennis.
Becoming a bigger and bigger Luke Combs fan by the week here on the program.
Nothing picks me up like a beer can.
Yeah.
Please tell me he has other songs in his collection.
He does.
Okay.
They sound very similar, but he does. It is
Look
Free
at
Beer
you.
Friday.
You're ripping on country music.
Modern day country music, yes, I will rip on it very much.
Luke Combs
He's fine.
The real deal.
He's fine.
By the way, I thought of some other country. You know, my dad used to listen to the Oak Ridge Boys. I liked that as a kid. Alabama.
A weekly update.
I liked that as a kid. Okay, there's two.
Joe Rexrode's country music Rolodex.
See, it's not all hate for the country music.
What's the one song he always brings up?
I can't remember.
I can't remember it either.
You think he would know, but he doesn't.
I always bring up the song.
Oh, yeah, he's found down. That's
sure.
it.
Yeah, well,
there you go.
Yes, I absolutely love everything about Smokey and the Bandit, including the country song that was on the soundtrack.
So it is time for Free Beer Friday here on Robby and Rexrode with your opportunity to win a $25 gift card to Bavarian Beer House located at Opry Mills Mall. And we have a trivia question for you as we do each and every Friday. And if you know the answer, be the first to text in to our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. The first correct answer will win the $25 Bavarian Beer House gift card at Opry Mills Mall. And Ryan Porth has had this trivia question prepared for days. So Ryan Porth, without further ado, I turn it over to you.
For nearly a week. Now, earlier in the show, I teased that this is tailor-made for Tennessee Hoops fans.
Correct.
The only time Tennessee has made it to the Elite Eight was 2010. What trio for the Vols all averaged double figures in points that season?
I like it.
So need all three names of the three players that averaged double figures in points that season.
If you've got the correct answer to that question, let us know on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. The first correct answer will win the $25 gift card to Bavarian Beer House located at Opry Mills Mall.
I got two that I know for sure, like boom. The third one is interesting. There's a few options. That's a good question.
It is a good question.
It's a tougher one than I've thrown out there in the last handful of
stepping
weeks.
your game up a little bit. I like that.
Like I said, man, covered that game. Tennessee had a great chance. Great chance to win that game. That was Draymond Green at the end of that game. Little pass to Raymond Morgan. Got fouled like a second left. Man, a lot of Vols fans there in St. Louis that day.
I bet there were.
And Vols media legends such as Mike Griffith were also there.
Yes, I'm sure that they were. So today, Joe, is, I guess, the official or unofficial beginning, the first full day of your favorite event of the sports calendar year. Number one, how excited are you to see what the NCAA tournament looks like this year? And do you have any major upsets in mind? What's your bracket looking like? Have you completed your bracket at this point, or are you waiting till the very last minute to get it done?
No, I went on a bracket flurry last night and did all the same bracket. I'm one bracket guy now. So, yeah, I'm super excited. I thought last night we got pretty much a glimpse of what it's going to be. I mean, it's going to be about – what is it, about a quarter full or a little less in some of these arenas. I love that they're using Mackey Assembly. They're going to use Hinkle. It'll be great. You know, I think it seems like they've got the bubble secure, which is good. I mean, all the testing outcomes so far have been mostly positive and overwhelmingly positive. Not perfect, but overwhelmingly positive. So I'm really pumped. It's going to be an awesome day. And, yeah, I've got – well, is this my bracket right here? It is my bracket, right? I've got I got a 12-13 advancing in the West. So I got some UCSB and some Ohio taking out Creighton and Virginia for one of my big upsets. The biggest one I have is Morehead State.
Me too.
Maybe I'm a little
got
bit
going to the Sweet 16.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, so I've got Cuse getting him in the second round, but that's my biggest one. I think those are really the three big upsets that I have. Well, and then obviously, I mean, it's like, the funny thing is you say it now, it's not even like it's an upset, but yeah, I have Winthrop beating Villanova.
Yeah.
Like, I feel worse about that than anything because
it's so popular.
Because everyone, like 10% of people are picking still a very good Villanova team, but just Colin Gillespie is a big loss.
And your national champion, I believe, is Illinois, right?
It is. I don't have a very creative Final Four. You know, I've got Illinois, Baylor, Gonzaga, and Alabama.
Yeah,
so I got 3 1s and a 2, and it's not going to be that. There's going to be a 3 or a 4 or a 6 or an 8 that makes it to the Final Four. But I think Gonzaga has a sweet side. I mean, they've got a path with ease. And I love Illinois. I think Illinois, with everything that they have, starting with Ayo Dosunmu, who's just such a special player, I'm going with them. But, you know, Gonzaga is the best team. That's my title game.
I've got Gonzaga winning the national championship, getting the job done, remaining undefeated. My Final Four is Gonzaga, Arkansas, Illinois, and Alabama. So 2 teams from the SEC. I don't feel great about it.
SEC
I am
homer,
an SEC
you.
homer. Ryan Porth, who's your national champion?
Illinois.
Okay. All right. We'll see how it goes.
They're very popular. I was surprised with us, like the other college basketball writers. Illinois was very popular. You did say Illinois, right?
Illinois.
Yeah, not Illinois.
Whatever. Win a national championship. I'll pronounce it right.
I think I decided when Illinois went into Michigan and smoked them that they were probably going to be my pick.
Okay.
Knowing how good they were all season and they've been coming on strong. They win the Big Ten tournament. Now, it doesn't always work out that a conference tournament winner wins. I think it's only happened once in like the last 7 or 8 years.
Yep.
That's very convenient. You said it now. You could have called your shot right back then. Why didn't you call your shot then?
Yeah.
About what?
About Illinois winning it.
Yeah,
after they
come
won
on.
At Michigan.
Let's add it. Add it.
There you go.
Shot,
a late edition.
The Illini.
Ryan Porth, do we have a winner in the Free Beer Friday trivia competition?
I don't think so. We've stumped.
Ooh,
we
really?
have stumped the audience.
What happens if the show's over and no one has won?
Remind us of the question.
The question, only time Tennessee made it to the Elite Eight was 2010. What trio for the Tennessee Volunteers all averaged double figures in points that season?
All righty. If you know the answer, let us know on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025.
And we've had correct answers, but not hitting all three at once.
You got to hit all 3. There's a lot that are hitting 2.
You can do it.
See. So there's 1. There are 2 that are pretty obvious. There's 1 that maybe you forgot about and haven't thought of. But once you think of it, it'll make a whole lot of sense.
I can't wait to ask as soon as the show ends because the third one is boggling my mind.
I think we're getting some text in now and may start to have a winner. We'll have to go through all the texts. But it's a good question by Ryan Porth. We've had some pretty quick winners in the last few of them with Free Beer Friday. This one requires a little bit more thought.
I want to know if Hoops Nut Elijah Campbell, who just walked in the studio, knows it like this.
He got 2 of 3.
See?
Okay.
That third
so
one.
that just kind of illustrates how challenging it is.
If Elijah Campbell isn't like that with an answer,
right.
You know it's a tough question.
That's going to do it for us today here on Robby and Rexrode. We appreciate all the participation on our streaming platforms this week as well. Periscope, Twitch, and YouTube. We'll be doing that every single show.
You're welcome.
You're absolutely welcome. We'll be back on Monday morning to discuss all things NCAA tournament over the weekend. Darren Daunic and Chase is coming up next. You're listening to ESPN 102.5 The Game.